The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Dolphins and the Patriots. Let's join our announcers, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
JB, thank you. And yes, this opening Sunday of the NFL season is about to commence under truly unique circumstances. It's a Super Bowl season on CBS. God willing, we'll see you in Tampa come February for Super Bowl 55. And hello, friends. Jim Nantz along with my great pal, Tony Romo. I got to tell you, Tony, it's all so different. But the only thing that can keep us apart calling a football game is plexiglass.
Exactly right.
Great to be back with you.
It's great to be back here, and it's opening day, and it's unique, but I tell you, I'm excited.
This division, we're going to see a division game today. It's been all New England, 11 straight division titles, 16 of the last 17 years, and now it's up for grabs.
It really is, and I know we sometimes joked in the past, like, oh, maybe it's the year that they, fall off a little bit. But Tom Brady's not here, so it gives people a chance to see a chink in the armor. But I tell you, Bill Belichick, he's not going anywhere. This still goes through Gillette. If you're a betting man, it's going through Gillette.
Well, with Tom Brady off to Tampa, Cam Newton now the quarterback for the Patriots, and I think everyone's anxious to see what that looks like today.
Well, I'm anxious. I tell you, as a fan, it's one of the most asked questions I get when I walk around town is, what's this offense going to look like? What are they going to do with Cam Newton? Well, first they're going to get him in more shotgun and ride the running back. Now, there's multiple things they do off this. Quarterback keeps it, hand it off. Then you play action. Similar to the old school way of Tom Brady. Fake it, throw up the seam to Gronkowski. They'll just do it a little bit differently. They'll use Cam's legs as a little bit more of a weapon than you've seen in the past.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, what this team did after going 0-7 last year, winning 5 of its last 9 games, including that win here, Week 17, that completely upset the whole New England playoff picture and plans. He is really in a good spot mentally right now with this team.
As he should be. That was really a big-time game. And I tell you, this team is much improved. And people don't realize this team has a chance to make a monster leap this year.
Well, right now, let's do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot. We got a couple of smart corners and high-priced corners to watch today.
Well, that's how they're building it. Both these teams. Flores comes from the Belichick background. Byron Jones comes in to solidify that secondary, play man-to-man coverage, just like Gilmore did a few years back for New England. And I tell you, that's the reigning defensive player of the year. You better watch out when you're throwing at him.
All right, Tony, your game points. 2 rookies on the Dolphins offensive line, including the first-rounder, left tackle Austin Jackson.
This will be the key to getting off to a good start this year. The communication could be a little rough early on for young offensive linemen, but I'll tell you, these guys are good, and they're going to improve as the year goes on.
Tell me about the Patriots offense with number 1 at quarterback instead of number 12.
Well, you're going to see a little bit different, but don't be surprised if you see a lot of the same stuff. Throw to the backs, throw to Julian Edelman, just a few different play actions a different way, and situational ball with Cam with his legs.
Tony, great to be back with you, and Tracy Wolfson, of course, with us as well. Folks, we're about to get this Sunday underway. Miami and New England coming up shortly on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Jets and the Bills. Let's join our announcers, Andrew Catalan, James Lofton, and AJ Ross.
JB, thank you. The Jets and Bills are meeting for the 119th time in the regular season. This will be the most unique matchup of them all. But we are just happy to have football, Jets and Bills, to start a new season in Orchard Park. And hi, everyone. Welcome to Buffalo from a safe distance. He's the Hall of Famer, James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalan. AJ Ross is with us as well. There are so many layers to today's game. But if you were still playing, James, and about to run out of that tunnel, what would be going through your mind right now?
I would be thinking that the isolation is still over, and I think everybody in America has been feeling that isolation, whether you're a worker, whether you've been working with the kids from home, or the only time you see your friends and neighbors are on Zoom calls. So it's finally good to be on the field if you're a Buffalo Bill or a New York Jet. where you can compete against the other team.
Let's talk some football. Expectations sky high here in Buffalo, and a big reason why is continuity. They returned 70% of their roster from last year.
And that continuity, I think, was a result of good health. And when you've had good health in the building, guys get healthy contracts, and that's what Tre'Davious White had last year. And the addition of Stephon Diggs, I think the Buffalo Bills organization thinks that Stephon Diggs is the missing piece that they need. He can run short routes, he can run deep routes, and he's great after the catch, Andrew.
Meanwhile, for the Jets, it's year 2 under head coach Adam Gase. Last year, they won 6 of their final 8, but some big changes this season, highlighted by the trade of Jamal Adams.
Yeah, there have been some guys who've been hitting the exit door with the New York Jets, but the Jets did get 2 first-round picks in the trade of Jamal Adams, and C.J. Mosley opted out for COVID-19 reasons. Very understandable. But they brought 4 new offensive linemen in, some big bodies, so that they can do some work on the ground.
Yeah, a revamped line to help protect Sam Darnold, highlighted by the big fella, Mekhi Becton, first-round pick, listed at 6'7", 363. Woo. Time now for Do Project Smarter. It's presented by the Home Depot.
Well, if you think about shutdown quarters, what you want them to be able to do is shut down their area. Tre'Davious White did not allow a touchdown pass in his area. He had 6 interceptions. So that's as smart as you can get at the cornerback position. True greatness is hard to not see with the naked eye, but Le'Veon Bell is a guy who has that true greatness. For the Jets, you have to contain Josh Allen in the pocket. He ran the ball 109 times last year. Only 25% of those were called runs. So the Buffalo Bills, what they need to be able to do is start fast. They only scored 43 first quarter points. That's less than 3 points a quarter, Andrew. I could kick a field goal to help them out.
Kickoff is coming up, but first you'll hear the national anthem. Football is back. It's week 1 of the NFL on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Raiders and the Panthers. Let's join our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Jay Feely.
Hey, JB, our share of the 2020 NFL season on CBS gets underway here at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. The Carolina Panthers hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Panthers figured to once again lean heavily on the talented and versatile fourth-year running back Christian McCaffrey. The Raiders arrive on the strong arm of quarterback Derek Carr, who threw for more than 4,000 yards last season. And with that, we say hello, everyone, and welcome to Charlotte. Greg Gumbel, along with Rich Gannon. Jay Feely will be joining us shortly. This whole thing has that new car feel and new car smell, all kinds of new things. You and I have never worked together before. Looking forward to that. And there are all kinds of things associated with this brand new season that just haven't happened before.
Yeah, Greg, I'm delighted to be working alongside you this year, partner. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's been a challenging off season, really, for everyone. It's no OTAs, no mini camps, and that's a disadvantage for all the teams, but especially teams that made coaching changes this year. You look at the Carolina Panthers, new head coach in Matt Rule, 2 new play callers, a new quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and 30 players that weren't on the opening day roster a season ago. It's going to be some tough sledding for the Panthers early this season.
Let's talk about the newness of these Raiders now. The brand new city, Las Vegas, brand new stadium to go back to. Something that isn't new, though, Derek Carr in his 7th season.
Yeah, they need to rely on the leadership and the experience of Derek Carr. You know, he's got his best supporting cast that he's had since his arrival back in 2014. The entire offensive line returns intact. 2 terrific tight ends in Waller and Witten, 1,000-yard rusher in Josh Jacobs, and 2 rookie receivers in Ruggs and Edwards that can flat out fly.
Now, there is plenty new about these Carolina Panthers. After a 5-11 season last year, they basically went into a retool.
Yeah, and Matt Rule knows how to get things turned around quickly. This isn't his first rodeo. Just look at what he did at Temple and at Baylor. He is a winner, and so is his new quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. He was a perfect 5-0 last season for the Saints. He's a very good decision maker, and he knows how to get his team to the finish line.
All right, time for Do Projects Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
Well, this game features 2 outstanding backs. The Panthers have Christian McCaffrey, who became just the third player in NFL history to reach 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving yards in a single season. He is the real deal. And the Raiders have Josh Jacobs, who rushed for 1,150 yards last season as a rookie, despite missing 3 games. And now for the keys. The Raiders need to be flexible and willing to adjust the game plan early. They really have no idea what to expect from this new Carolina coaching staff. And the Panthers would be smart to keep it simple. They have a new staff and a new quarterback. Less volume and more creativity will serve them well.
Well, both these teams, plenty of youth we will see soon enough if they are ready for the National Football League. Our national anthem is coming up next. It comes your way after this message and a word from your local station.
It's the highly anticipated NFL debut of the #1 overall pick, playing in his home state, the future of the franchise, following the most prolific season a quarterback has ever had in college football. From Cincinnati, CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, the Los Angeles Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals. And a pleasant good afternoon, everyone, with Trent Green, Kevin Harlan. Welcome to the 61st season of the NFL on CBS. All right, we just saw Joe Burrow. A lot to like about what he brings to this Bengal franchise.
Well, going back a year, you have to realize he had one of the most historic seasons in college football history. When you look at the numbers, 76% completion, over 5,600 yards passing, and 60 touchdown passes. Yes, 60 touchdown passes all in one season. And to cap that season off, wins the national championship, goes undefeated, and then wins the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin of victory ever for that award. And what's that get you? It gets you the first overall pick, and you have the challenge of turning around a franchise in the Cincinnati Bengals. That's the anticipation, what everybody's excited about with Joe Burrow.
Quarterbacking for the Chargers. They've got someone new under center for the first time in that franchise in 14 years, Trent.
Substantially different story on the Los Angeles Chargers sideline. Tyrod Taylor, his 10th year in the NFL, but his 4th different team, takes over for Phillip Rivers. 224 consecutive starts for Phillip Rivers. Tyrod Taylor, a different quarterback. Look for something different out of the Chargers offense. Taylor likes to run the football, and he likes to move around in the pocket.
We join Melanie Collins when we come back on the field. The Los Angeles Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals, next on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Broncos and the Steelers. Let's join our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Jay Feely.
Thank you, JB. This is Heinz Field right down there in the corner on the right here in Pittsburgh as the Steelers get set for their home opener this new season. They'll host the Denver Broncos. Opposite ends of the spectrum at quarterback today, the future Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger is in his 17th season here in Pittsburgh. Second-year quarterback Drew Lock leads the Denver Broncos. His second start of the season, only the 7th of his young career. With that, we say hello and welcome to Pittsburgh, everyone. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Jay Feely will join us shortly. A week ago, we were talking about this new season and how it would go in the absence of the normal training camps and the preseason games. What'd you think?
Greg, I was actually pleasantly surprised with the overall quality of play. I was really expecting some sloppy football, a lot of missed tackles, turnovers, big plays in the kicking game, and yet, for the most part, I thought the coaches and players did a really good job without the benefit of a true offseason.
Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fans in these parts breathing a little easier after Ben Roethlisberger's debut for the season last week. He was pretty good.
He really was. And look, here's a guy that missed all but 6 quarters a season ago after sustaining the elbow injury that required surgery, and the Steelers' offense really fell felt the impact of his absence. Pittsburgh scored just 13 offensive touchdowns in the final 10 games. I think everyone was relieved to see him back under center. I thought this play in particular was a real turning point for Ben Roethlisberger and the Steeler offense. Second quarter, it's a third down. It's an all-out blitz by this Giants defense. No panic in Ben at all. He finds Juju Smith-Schuster in the back corner of the end zone. And really, after kind of a slow start, he finished strong through 3 touchdowns. I think this was a big moment, not just for Big Ben, but for this Pittsburgh offense to know that their signal caller was back.
Well, last week, the Steelers' run game lost starter James Conner to an ankle sprain early on. He is active and ready to play today. Second-year running back Benny Snell stepped up in a big way last week, 19 carries and 113 yards. But the real star of the Pittsburgh win last week, Rich, a really good Steeler defense.
Yeah, one of the better defenses in football. Last year, they led the league in sacks, takeaways, and fumble recoveries. You're going to see Bud Dupree, just a great effort play here. He gets a deflection and falls right into the hands of Cameron Hayward. And last week, they shut down Saquon Barkley, holding him to just 6 yards on 15 carries. You combine that with a couple picks and 3 sacks, and you have yourself a pretty productive day week 1.
Now, the Denver Broncos, they lost a tough 2-pointer in their opener to the Tennessee Titans. 16-14 was the final score. Their quarterback, Drew Lock, is a very young quarterback, but there's no question he's their quarterback in the future.
Yeah, I think he has a huge upside. You know, I think the way he finished the season last year, he goes 4-1 down the stretch. I thought he really won over his teammates and the coaching staff with some gutsy performances, especially on the road. He's got outstanding arm talent to make all the throws. He sees the field well, and he's extremely poised operating under center.
The question for the Broncos this week, would the terrific wide receiver Cortland Sutton be ready after missing the opener with a shoulder injury that he suffered in practice? The answer is yes. That is a big weapon for the Broncos and for Drew Lock to have at their availability today. What about the Denver defense?
This is a well-coached, disciplined defense that doesn't make many mistakes. They make you earn it. They're stingy down in the red zone. Where they struggle is generating the negative plays and takeaways. Those numbers need to be better.
All right, Rich, time for Do Project Smarter, presented by The Home Depot.
Well, without Philip Lindsay in the lineup today, Melvin Gordon needs to have a big day, and not just on the ground, but in the passing game as well. He needs at least 20 carries in this one. And for Pittsburgh, it's all about the pass rush. T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree can bring it off the edge. Last year, they combined for 26 sacks, the most in the NFL. And for Pittsburgh, they'd be smart to protect their franchise quarterback. 2 new starters along the right side of that offensive line has head coach Mike Tomlin concerned. And for Denver, they have to have success running the ball, because if it becomes a throwing game, they will struggle.
Steelers looking for 2 in a row to start the new season. Broncos searching for win number 1. Kickoff not far away as we continue from Pittsburgh after this message and a word from your local station. We are just a couple of minutes away from the opening kickoff. The 1-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, the 0-1 Denver Broncos, set to renew their rivalry at Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. The NFL on CBS continues in just a moment.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Giants and the Bears. So let's join our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, a September Sunday in the Windy City just south of downtown, and 2 quarterbacks that have a history going back to their college days in the ACC. Chicago's Mitch Trubisky, UNC guy, and New York's Daniel Jones, proud Duke alum. We kick off week 2 of the NFL on CBS. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn joins us from downstairs. It is the Giants and the Bears here on CBS. What year is it? We've got it for you here this afternoon, Charles. Let's start with Chicago. You go back to last week. They escaped Detroit with a victory, and now the question's going to start popping up. Which version of the Bears are we going to see Sunday after Sunday, including this one?
Well, they want the version that they saw in the fourth quarter, led by their quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky, who spent the entire offseason remaking himself. Mechanics, footwork, arm motion, you name it. And it all came together in the fourth quarter in Detroit. After some earlier struggles, Mitchell Trubisky down the stretch, 8 of 10, 89 yards and 3 touchdowns. But it wasn't just the 3 touchdowns. Look at the ball placement. Look at the accuracy. And the Bears left Detroit with a big win.
One area that the Bears needed to improve, Ryan Pace, GM, recognized it, the tight end position. Jimmy Graham, touchdown last week. Pro Bowler Demetrius Harris comes over formally with Kansas City and Cleveland. Cole Kmet, the draft pick out of Notre Dame. J.P. Holtz is the holdover from last year's group. Some drama off the field for the Bears this week. Evan Washburn has more.
Yeah, Ian, some drama with a 2020 flair to it. Pro Bowl wide receiver Allen Robinson will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season, and the ongoing negotiations for a contract extension hit a snag on Tuesday, and it looked to turn contentious as Allen Robinson scrubbed all references of the Bears from all of his social media accounts. A move he told us on Friday was rooted in frustration and emotion in the moment about how those conversations were going. He did tell us, though, he has nothing but respect for this organization. Doesn't feel like it'll be an issue moving forward. Matt Nagy added to us that this is a process, and they want Allen Robinson to retire a Bear, guys.
All right, Evan, let's shift over to the Giants. It's a new era for New York, new head coach and Joe Judge. It was a loss, though, in week 1 against Pittsburgh. Judge happy with what he saw from Daniel Jones, his young QB, now in year number 2, CD.
What he liked was the play, but what he liked even more, the toughness. All the pressure Pittsburgh threw at him, including 3 sacks, he stayed in there and threw the ball downfield. But the guy the Giants have to get going is their all-star running back, and that's Saquon Barkley. 15 carries last week, just 6 yards, and he was smothered. It looked like Steel Curtain 2 trying to run the football. Nowhere to go. Dropped in the backfield a number of times, could not get going, so the Giants had to go to an alternative method. Get the ball out to him in space. That's when you see the dynamic qualities Saquon Barkley has.
And time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
And one of the smart moves the Giants made 2 drafts ago was getting Darius Slayton out of Auburn. He can flat out fly on the perimeter. A big 41-yard touchdown against Pittsburgh last week. And for the Bears, Khalil Mack, their outside linebacker, he says, I have to play better. The Bears are looking for it. Now, for the big things, 3rd downs. The Bears were just 2 of 11 last week against the Detroit Lions. And for the Giants, James Bradbury will cover Allen Robinson maybe all over the field.
It is the Giants and the Bears. They met last season back in week 12. Chicago prevailed 19-14. Week 2 in the NFL. Giants 0-1, Bears 1-0. Countdown to kickoff continues from Chicago. We've got all the action for you right here on CBS. It is week 2, and we join you today from the windy city of Chicago, where the Giants meet the Bears. We'll get things started and kick it off right after this.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Jaguars and the Titans. So let's join our announcers, Andrew Catalan, James Lofton, and A.J. Ross.
JB, thank you. Nashville has been a house of horrors for the Jaguars. Jacksonville has not won here since 2013. the Titans look to keep it rolling in their first home game of the season. And hi, everyone. Welcome to Week 2 of the NFL on CBS. Along with the Hall of Famer James Lofton, I'm Andrew Catalon. A.J. Ross will join us as well. A big reason the Jaguars have not had success here recently is the big man at running back for Tennessee. Derrick Henry has owned the Jaguars.
Sure, it's like getting in the boxing ring against somebody who has a great 1-2 punch, and that jab, Derrick Henry just comes at you. It works all over you. It'll work the body, it'll work the head, it'll work the ribs. Derrick Henry, he's there, he's constant, he doesn't tire out. Big, fast, strong. But that 1-2 punch, that second part of the equation, the knockout, well, wide receivers like to be part of that. So a good quarterback, wide receiver combination. Last week, Ryan Tannehill, 7 receptions by Corey Davis. Corey Davis has to be that knockout element of that 1-2 punch for the Tennessee Titans.
And no A.J. Brown today. He is out with a knee injury. Meanwhile, Monday was a wild night for Stephen Gostkowski. 4 missed kicks, but he also hit the game-winning field goal.
You know, a guy with such a storied history. You talk about potential Hall of Fame. Yes, he's all of that. And he got on the bus because he kicked the overtime game winner.
Well, the Jaguars kicked off their season with a win over the Colts, and there was some Minshew mojo in that one. 3 touchdowns for Gardner Minshew. He only had 1 incompletion. He was dialed in that victory.
Those are some easy films to watch in the quarterback room. When you go 19 out of 20, that's pretty good. But Gardner Minshew will tell you, he took 3 sacks on 3rd downs. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to kill drives against the Tennessee Titans. You want to remain on the field and keep their offense off the field.
The Jaguars are the youngest team in the NFL, and with no preseason games, their performance last week is even that more impressive. Right at the top of the list, James, is first-round pick C.J. Henderson.
Sometimes when you're young, you don't know what you don't know. C.J. Henderson got to know Phillip Rivers a little bit, batted away a couple of balls, had an interception. Today, the dirty work happens when he has to come up and tackle Derrick Henry.
Time now for Do Project Smarter. It is presented by the Home Depot.
Well, the ultimate Allen wrench would have to be Jadeveon Clowney, because you can move him over the tackle, you can move him over the guard, you can line him up over the center, and he creates a problem everywhere he lines up. James Robinson, on the other hand, nobody knew what to expect from this young man. Well, they found out, they've watched him on film, he's going to have to produce once again. But for the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have to limit the big stuff. I'm talking about the big runs from Derrick Henry and those big explosive play-action pass games that they like. The Tennessee Titans play takeaway. When they were in the playoffs last year, 4 takeaways in the first couple of games. Those are wins. 0 against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were even in turnovers.
The last time Tennessee started 2-0 was 12 years ago. It's an early season battle in the AFC South. Titans and Jaguars coming up next on CBS. Moments away from the Jaguars and Titans squaring off here in Week 2. It's one of 5 games today, with both teams coming in with 1-0 records. Kickoff coming up next on CBS.
SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, and the Chargers about to make their debut at their new home with division rival Kansas City. Hello, friends. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. Almost out of superlatives already, just being in the booth for a couple of hours. This place is awesome.
It's unbelievable. You called it Disneyland when we got here, and I know you're out here getting a lot of rides in this morning. So let's have a day.
Yeah, it's like Tomorrowland when you show up at Disney. And we might see a little fast pass action today out of these Kansas City Chiefs. Come off a win against Houston, and the Chargers also 1-0 with a victory at Cincinnati. But the Chiefs have had the better of the matchup for a long time. 11 of the last 12.
Yep. Chargers gave them a little trouble last year, though. One of the few teams that slowed down this offense. We'll see if they can do it again today.
Butker's kick comes
from NRG Stadium in Houston. CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans. Hi, everyone. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green on our sideline. Melanie Collins will be checking in with her a bit later on. The Baltimore Ravens beat Cleveland last week, 38-6. The Texans lost at Kansas City to open the season, 34-20. We've had the flip of the coin. The Texans have won. They've decided to...
The NFL...
Stay at 8, only on NFL Network.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Titans and the Vikings. So let's send you out to Minneapolis. Our announcers, Andrew Catalan, James Lofton, and AJ Ross.
JB, thank you. Today's the first time the Titans have played at U.S. Bank Stadium. 2-0 Tennessee, hoping they feel right at home against a winless Vikings team desperate for a victory. And hi, everyone. Welcome to Week 3 of the NFL on CBS. Along with the Hall of Famer James Lofton, I'm Andrew Catalan. AJ Ross is with us as well. So far this year, Ryan Tannehill and the Titans are proving that trip to the AFC Championship game was no fluke last year. What's been the biggest reason for Tannehill's career revival in Tennessee?
Well, when you watch quarterbacks play around the league, it's about having the correct fit. Is the offense a fit for them? Is the defense a fit for them? Is the coaching staff a fit for them? Ryan Tannehill fits right in with this offense, and I think his toughness that he's displayed in the pocket makes his teammates want to play just that much harder for him. I've watched the pass protection the first couple weeks, and these guys fight for Ryan Tannehill.
3 of his 6 touchdown passes have gone to this man, the tight end, Jonnu Smith.
And when we met with Jonnu Smith, I believe he is an emerging tight end. In his 4th year, each year those reception totals go up and up and up, and I think he's moving to that elite level.
Meanwhile, Mike Vrabel is looking for more out of his defense today. Last week, they gave up nearly 500 yards to Jacksonville.
And Mike Vrabel's the head coach and also the defensive coordinator. But those numbers, as many hours as they work, those numbers keep coaches awake at night.
Speaking of coaches being awake at night, Mike Zimmer did not hold back after last week's embarrassing loss at Indianapolis. Quote, "We're not good at anything right now." Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. How do they get it going there?
Well, it's really simple on the offensive side of the ball. It's about protection. You must protect Kirk Cousins. I believe he's an incredibly accurate quarterback. Don't look at those numbers last week because Kirk Cousins has erased those from his memory breaks. In his preparation, he's ready to play. He's ready to be that 67% completion guy that he's been for his career.
Vikings opponents have run 47 more plays than Minnesota has, and Cousins needs more threats in the pass game because right now it's Adam Thielen and nobody else.
But Adam Thielen is a great start for the pass game, and the thing that I love about Adam Thielen is that he competes. I watched the Packers game. 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Adam Thielen played just as hard on play 1 as he did the very last play of the game, and that's the way you lead your team.
On defense, injuries and youth has been a rough combo for Zimmer.
Yeah, Zimmer knew that he was getting rid of a lot of veterans, that he'd have to play some young players on defense, but he thought that the offense would carry the defense. It hasn't been the case, and I believe that they must play complementary football. Stay on the field, keep the other team off the field.
Time now for 2 Project Smarter. It's presented by the Home Depot.
I know somewhere in the Home Depot that there's an aisle where you can pick up a pass rusher and an elite pass rusher. Yannick Ngakoue is a guy who brings that to the Minnesota Vikings. But on the other side, the disruptor, Derrick Henry. I don't know if they have an aisle where you can get really big shoulder pads, but that's what you need to slow down Derrick Henry. For the Tennessee Titans, they must pressure Kirk Cousins early. Don't let him get in a rhythm because he can hurt you if he does get in a rhythm. For the Minnesota Vikings, stack the box. Put that 8th defender up there to stop the run. Don't let Derrick Henry get started.
It's been 8 years since these two teams played in Minnesota. That 2012 meeting was at the Metrodome. Vikings and Titans coming up next on CBS.
We are live after the presidential debate. Tune in and find out which country Trump will open.
Two defensive-minded head coaches going head-to-head. Mike Vrabel, Mike Zimmer, Titans and Vikings coming up next on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Raiders and the Patriots. So let's send you out to Foxborough to join our announcers, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
All right, JB, partly cloudy in the 70s, very comfortable in a fan-free environment in Foxborough as the Raiders come in to take on the Patriots. John Gruden's Raiders have won their first 2 games, thanks in large part to a red-hot start by quarterback Derek Carr, sensational against the Saints on Monday night. But Bill Belichick and the Patriots are showing signs of not slowing down. Cam Newton has been terrific the first 2 weeks. He's given New England a whole new approach on offense. And hello, friends, Jim Nance, along with Tony Romo and Tracy Wolfson. Kind of an interesting little week 3 matchup here. Yeah. Just how good are the Raiders? They've been rebuilding under Gruden for a couple of years. Now they've won their first 2 games. What are they all about? We're going to find out a lot today, I think.
I think you're exactly right. I really think there's tests in the NFL. And a lot of time your team wants to feel that. They need to kind of know, are we really that good? Last week was one of them. They beat the Saints, who everyone knows the kind of talent they have, and we think we know where they're going to be at the end of the year. Well, here's another one. They gained confidence last week. They have another chance. They win this one. I'm telling you, it's going to skyrocket for everyone who's a Raider fan.
Well, Cam Newton and the Patriots were a yard away from winning a game Sunday night in Seattle. He threw for nearly 400 yards and running the football with 4 touchdowns rushing. He's been throwing the football, and it's been impressive.
He's been very impressive. That was one of the big offseason questions, right? How's this offense going to look? Well, I'll tell you, it does everything. Cam Newton, no one does this as efficiently. Give it, keep it. He's got to read it, does great with his eyes, and then all of a sudden in halftime of week 1, they're like, we're going to come out and blitz everybody. So they adjust. Josh McDaniels, hey, fake it, and then just throw to Edelman over the middle when they blitz everyone. There's not a lot of answers to stop this. You got to have players who play hard and have eye discipline.
Speaking of Edelman, we knew he was Tom Brady's favorite target, but the second game he plays with Cam Newton, he sets a personal best against the Seahawks with 179 yards receiving.
Yeah, well, I think when you have really good players, usually they have a way of changing. And you go from Brady, and all of a sudden you're going to Cam. It's like, will Edelman still be Edelman? Well, he's really good. So he's going to play good no matter who's playing. But I tell you, right there, that guy, he does everything the Patriots need and want. Blocks, runs routes. He's awesome.
John Gruden's got to be thrilled with the play and development of Derek Carr. He's been like upper echelon level here the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a guy who starts to learn the offense, right? You don't really know all the little details and nuances. Now he's basically like a coach on the field. He gets them into good plays. This team plays in front of the chains. They run the ball, and then they get in third and manageable. He gets them to a good play, and he throws it accurately, and you're seeing the evolution of a guy who understands John Gruden's system.
Well, they've given him weapons, your point, and one of them they developed. Darren Waller, he had nothing going in his career, comes to the Raiders since the start of last season, one of the absolute best at tight end.
Absolutely, you're right. This is one of the bigger reasons, too. They've made a concerted plan to get Derek Carr weapons. Well, this is the biggest one, I'm telling you. He's hard to defend. They move him everywhere, plays outside, plays inside, runs Edelman-type routes, Gronkowski routes outside. It's going to be hard to see how they stop him today.
Here's doing Project Smarter presented by Home Depot. And what about this guy, Josh Jacobs?
Well, this is where the offense starts. You give the ball to Josh, you get closer, and then you throw it to Waller. And You're going to see McCourty, though, with that pick to start last week. This secondary is outstanding. If anybody can slow down a Darren Waller when he moves all over the place, it'll be a Bill Belichick team with great people in the secondary.
All right, Tony, your game points for the Raiders just say contain Cam. Can they do that?
Good luck. I think that it's hard. They're coming off a short week, Jim. They played on Monday night. You got to fly out here earlier. You don't get the same number of reps against a team who does a lot.
And how about the Patriots? You say win first down as a key.
Yeah, but I'm talking about their defense. Last week in Seattle, they got behind early on the early downs. Seattle did it, and all of a sudden the Patriots gave up the most passing yards, touchdowns in a long time. They got to win early downs and get them in 3rd and long so they can attack this Oakland offense.
So the Raiders traveled east week 1 and won at Carolina.
And it's the Vegas offense, Jim. I had you. You forgot.
You got it, pal. You're not the first. Raiders, Patriots, next on CBS. Terrific coaching matchup today. John Gruden and the Raiders take on Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Kickoff is coming up next on CBS.
They're going to allow 7,500 fans inside Lucas Oil Stadium for Week 3. Welcome, everyone, to Indianapolis as CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, the New York Jets and the Indianapolis Colts. And a pleasant good afternoon. Kevin Harlan with Trent Green will check in with Melanie Collins moments from now. Boy, it's odd, isn't it, to see the Colts quarterback, Phillip Rivers, in a new uniform after 16 years with the Chargers.
As you said, 16 years with the lightning bolt on his helmet. Now all of a sudden he has a horseshoe on his helmet. But what's making his job a lot easier is what's going on at running back with rookie Jonathan Taylor taking over last week. In his first start, he had over 100 yards rushing, and what Phillip Rivers told us is he's a much better receiver than people give him credit for. 226 pounds, runs a 4.3, 940, but it's his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. The first game, he had 6 receptions, and then you look at the defense on the other side for the Colts, number 1 in the NFL after 2 weeks, over 200, just over 200 yards per game. Outstanding group on that side of the ball.
All right, now for the Jets. Trent, they are injured and they are winless, and that is not a good combination.
It isn't a good combination, especially when you're sporting a young quarterback as they are in Sam Darnold. It's hard to believe it's already his 3rd year in the NFL, yet he's only 23 years old, still one of the youngest quarterbacks in the NFL. The Jets have to get off to a faster start. They have to do a better job on 3rd down and in the red zone for them to get some production here today.
The New York Jets haven't won a September game in a couple years. The Colts trying to win 2 in a row. The Jets, the Colts, next on CBS.
Is brand spanking new SoFi Stadium, home to the LA Rams and today to the LA Chargers, who will host the Carolina Panthers. And you will forgive the Chargers their enthusiasm over a rookie quarterback who shined brightly in a surprise debut last week. We'll talk about Justin Herbert in just a moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inglewood, California. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Jay Feely will be with us as well. Just 2 weeks into this season, a lot of talented players going to the sidelines. You have a theory.
Yeah, Greg, both teams without a number of key starters, including Christian McCaffrey of the Panthers and Melvin Ingram of the Chargers, you can't tell me that preseason games aren't important for getting these guys ready for a 16-game regular season. Way too many soft tissue and knee injuries last week.
I mentioned Justin Herbert, the Chargers' first-round pick. He opened some eyes last week in his emergency start at quarterback.
So impressed with his poise and composure, especially considering the circumstances. He didn't find out he was going to start until moments before kickoff. The most impressive thing to me was this play in particular. A critical third down in the game. He just does a terrific job trusting the protection. You'll see him sitting there with a tough jaw, and he makes this throw between two chief defenders. This kid is the real deal.
Now, the Carolina Panthers, despite an 0-2 start to this season, carry a lot of optimism with them, but they do have some things to fix.
They've got a lot to clean up, especially defensively. They're struggling right now getting pressure on the quarterback. They're giving up way too many points, and offensively, they didn't give themselves a chance last week. 4 turnovers against Brady and the Buccaneers.
It's the 0-2 Panthers, the 1-1 Chargers. Our kickoff is coming up next as the NFL on CBS continues from Southern California.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Chargers and the Buccaneers. So let's send you out to Tampa with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, it's the site of Super Bowl 55, Tampa, Florida, and Buccaneers fans are hoping the home team can make some history this year. You can dream of championships when you have the NFL's all-time winningest player on your roster, Tom Brady. Today, the Bucs host the Los Angeles Chargers here on CBS. And welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn joins us momentarily from downstairs. There is no doubting the fact that Tampa Bay has an extremely talented roster. The question coming in was, how quickly would Brady mesh with this team? What are your thoughts so far?
Well, he's Tom Brady, and everyone expected it to happen right then and there. But as he told us, football's hard, okay? Things have to get together and happen and mesh together, and they're starting to do that. Remember, Tom Brady, coming from New England, he had his own ideas about what Bruce Arians' offense should look like, and Bruce Arians has the same thing. And here is a Bruce Arians-type play. Push the ball downfield, find your tight end O.J. Howard in the seams, big catch. In addition to that, he and Tom Brady do agree a strong running game is an essential part of an offense. Ronald Jones will get the lion's share of carries today for Tampa.
2 weapons sidelined today for Tampa Bay. Leonard Fournette out with an ankle injury. Chris Godwin sitting this one out with hamstring trouble. Last year, we saw some makings of it. This year, it has really emerged. This defense is the real deal, and it's a nice blend of veterans and young players all contributing.
Todd Bowles, their defensive coordinator, he believes in pressure. Bruce Arians, his head coach, encourages it. So he brings it from all angles, all levels. 7 different Buccaneers with a sack so far this season. Defensive line, linebackers, secondary. Here's Antoine Winfield, the rookie. Everyone will come at you. They'll show you the same look, and different guys will rush each time.
3 tight games so far for the Los Angeles Chargers. They are 1-2. Maybe this was not the timetable that they imagined prior to the season, but Justin Herbert is their starting quarterback. What have you made of the young man so far?
They may be 0-2, but Justin Herbert has played exceptionally well out of the gate as far as I'm concerned, and it shouldn't be a major surprise when you take a look at the scouting report we have on Justin Herbert. Starts with his stature, 6'6", nearly 240 pounds, room to grow. He does have an elite arm, and when you get a chance to watch him throw it downfield, those in-breaking routes, he'll really let it rip. Athleticism, he may surprise you a little bit. In and out of the pocket, he can move. The quarterback run game is a staple for them. But one thing that's underestimated for him, his competitiveness. This guy can run the football, take a hit, and he battles hard on each and every snap.
A boatload of injuries for the Chargers. Let's get more from Evan Washburn.
Yeah, and the next man up cliche is a reality, unfortunately, for the LA Chargers. The past 2 seasons, due to the injury toll, and through 3 games, they're back in the fight. As you can see, 6 starters currently on IR, 4 Pro Bowlers. Chris Harris, the latest to join that list. And then today, 4 more starters out dealing with day-to-day and week-to-week injuries, most notably the entire right side of that offensive line, and Brian Bulaga and Trey Turner, as they now face a Bucs defense that is complex, fellas.
All right, time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
The Los Angeles Chargers made a really smart move when they drafted Joey Bosa. They've made a smarter move this offseason, signing him to a long-term deal. He is their sack master. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Mike Evans, he's their #1 receiver. Hasn't had much production in yardage so far this year, but he knows how to find the end zone. And the keys for this game, feed the Gronk. Rob Gronkowski, a lot of catches last week. They want that to continue. And the Los Angeles Chargers, don't give the ball away. Just take it away. -3 in turnover margin in the early going.
It is the 12th all-time meeting between the Chargers and the Buccaneers. We'll come back and get things started. After this, the NFL on CBS. It's Week 4. Tom Brady is back on CBS. Countdown to kickoff continues. We're moments away from the start. The Chargers and the Buccaneers will get it going next.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Ravens and the Washington football team. Let's send you out to our announcers, Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, and A.J. Ross.
Thank you, JB. Just outside our nation's capital, it's a beautiful fall afternoon for the Battle of the Beltway. It's the first meeting in 4 years between Baltimore and Washington. And hi, everyone. Welcome to Week 4 of the NFL on CBS. Along with the Hall of Famer James Lofton, I'm Andrew Catalon. A.J. Ross will join us coming up in a bit. All right, not what the Ravens envisioned for Monday's showdown with Kansas City. They lost by 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson threw a career-low 97 yards passing. So, James, was it an off night, or are there legitimate concerns about their pass game?
I think there are concerns and corrections that you make as a ball club, but just like the bus ride over here, you leave last week's game in the rear view mirror because Lamar Jackson has been successful as a starter. They have to understand what their identity is as a team, and John Harbaugh tells us it's about defense, run the football, and then some on-point passing by Lamar Jackson. Let's not forget, he won the MVP last year. 69% completions this year already, 5 touchdowns versus no interceptions. So job number 1 for the quarterback, protect the football.
No debate about the Ravens' run game. They have a dangerous 3-headed monster at running back.
They just keep coming at you and at you and at you. And by the fourth quarter, they're ready to wear you out with Gus Edwards, who is a locomotion going straight down the track.
Defensively, Pro Bowlers at all 3 levels.
When you draft well and you select the right free agents, you never seem to be out of pace with what you want your defense to do. Get after the quarterback, got some defensive linemen, harass the quarterback a little more, some linebackers, and great coverage in the secondary.
For Washington, Dwayne Haskins committed 4 turnovers last week. And on Monday, head coach Ron Rivera said, quote, "We can't see a regression." So is there now a little pressure on the young QB here in Washington?
I think there's a lot of pressure on him. This is only his 11th start, and he has to maintain his calm throughout this ball game where they're going to come after him from each and every angle. When you watch Dwayne Haskins play in this West Coast offense, it's all about timing. These little hitches that he's taking and his eye movement, that's going to take the defense directly to where he wants to throw the football. You have to get the ball out and on time, or else the defense is going to be going the opposite direction with it.
For Washington defensively, first-round pick Chase Young will not play because of a groin injury. He's considered day-to-day. But even without their sacks leader, Washington still has an aggressive front seven.
They really get after you. Jack Del Rio has his pick of guys to use up front. They have 4 first-round picks other than Chase Young. They had 8 sacks of Carson Wentz in the first game. They've been harassing quarterbacks all season long. They're going to try and get after Lamar Jackson in this ball game.
Time now for Do Project Smarter. It's presented by the Home Depot.
Well, when you walk in, you say, I just need a hammer. They say, well, here's Landon Collins. He can be the hammer. 8 career interceptions. And I think he's the guy who wants to be a playmaker, and he has to be careful where he hits guys. And if you want some glitter tape, Marquise Brown, he has speed, and a little more speed. And in this ball game, the Baltimore Ravens have to run, get to the identity. And for the Washington football team, it's about Dwayne Haskins. Once he gets outside the pocket, once he's harassed, make some smart decisions and some big plays.
Beltway bragging rights are on the line today. Should be a fun one at FedEx Field. Baltimore and Washington next on CBS. John Harbaugh and Ron Rivera used to be a part of the same coaching staff in Philadelphia. Today, they'll go head-to-head here on CBS as Baltimore takes on Washington.
Was it going to be Sunday? Will they scratch that? Will it be Monday, Tuesday, week 17? Here we are. The game's going to be played. Week 4 will be intact. We might see a whole lot more of this as the season goes on.
You're exactly right. I think the NFL told us you got to be willing to adjust, right? The teams have to be the owners, the players, the coaches, and you're seeing that play out right now. I'll tell you, this team, both of them, they're ready to go. They're antsy. It's an extra day, but the fact they're playing, they're excited. And I'll also tell you, we didn't even know what we were going to do this week. Like, honestly, Jim, it was like, do we go home? Do we stay? We're here. I know everyone wants to see this game.
Yeah, this is a big game when you look down the road at the playoff picture in the AFC. Brian Hoyer now gets the start with Cam on the COVID list, and he's most identified as a Patriot as his 3rd stint at New England, but he's never started a game for the Patriots.
Wasn't that crazy when he said that to us? I mean, honestly, it was like, what? Oh, my gosh, he's right. But I do know this. Brian Hoyer knows this system. He's been around Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator for the Patriots, for a long time. I think he knows how special the Patriots can be, situational football. He's ready to show everybody that he can play great football in this system.
On the other side, after another unblemished September, he's never thrown a pick. He's never lost a September game as a Chief. And here he is, the face of the league, Patrick Mahomes.
Did you just jinx him?
Hey, it's October.
All right, you got me. You're exactly right. Patrick Mahomes, superlatives don't do enough. This guy's the standard. Super Bowl MVP. Unquestionably, possibly the best player in the league. You got to beat that guy. Who can do it, though, Jim? If there's one guy, who can? Who's the guy who can come up with a plan?
What a matchup this is. You got it. Belichick and Reed, we're ready. Back in a moment.
Live look inside Allegiant Stadium, this gleaming new football palace that they've built in the Las Vegas desert, and it is the site for a terrific early season AFC battle between the undefeated Buffalo Bills and the Las Vegas Raiders. Hi, everyone. Welcome inside the CBS booth alongside former first-round pick, hard-hitting NFL safety Adam Archuleta. I'm Spiro Ditas. Arch, we've been looking forward to this. We know Buffalo. They've been one of these stories in the league, and the Raiders kind of stubbed their toe last week, but off to a very good start as well.
Spiro, I am fired up for this football game, and I'm fired up to watch these two quarterbacks go at it. Let's start with Buffalo. How about Josh Allen? Can this season start any better? Could his finish last week be any more dramatic to come back from behind and beat the Rams in Orchard Park? Josh Allen has grown up before our eyes. He has arrived, and he is playing as good as any quarterback in the National Football League. And for the Raiders, Derek Carr, maybe not as flashy as Josh Allen, but when you put on the tape and you study his game, he is playing as good as he has ever played in his career. Now, they stubbed their toe in the second half in the last week's game against the Patriots, but I wouldn't sleep on this Raiders football team. We're in for a great matchup.
Raiders have won the toss, and they elect to defer, and so the Bills will put their offense onto the field first. Good coaching matchup. Sean McDermott, year 4, leading this Bills franchise. What a job he and his general manager have done, Brandon Beane, turning the roster around, getting them exactly where they want to be at this point. And, of course, John Gruden teaming up here with Mike Mayock, the second-year general manager. Year 3 for Gruden in his second stint as the head coach of this Raiders franchise. And they will play their second game in this brand new state of the
doubleheader Sunday here on CBS. Soldier Field on the shores of Lake Michigan is the battleground as the 2-1 Indianapolis Colts pay a visit to the 3-0 Chicago Bears. Last week, the Bears rallied to win behind veteran quarterback Nick Foles. It earned him the starting job. Speaking of veterans, Philip Rivers is in his 17th NFL season, his first at the helm of the Indianapolis offense. And with that, we say hello and welcome to Chicago, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Rich Gannon. Amanda Balionis will join us shortly, our third member of our crew. Rich, the Bears, it's not often you see a change of quarterbacks in the middle of a winning streak, but that's what the Bears have done, and you like the move.
Yeah, Nick Foles replaced Trubisky last week, led him from behind, a 16-point deficit in the fourth quarter. I really think it's just what the doctor ordered for an offense that was really struggling to push the ball down the field. As for Philip Rivers, he's found a new home, and he looks really comfortable in the offensive system. He's very familiar with this system, having been together with Frank Reich and the Chargers in the past. Essentially, it's the same offensive system, and that's a big reason why he leads the league in completion percentage at 78%.
Speaking of that, let's check in downstairs with Amanda Balionis. Amanda.
Thanks, Greg. Nick Foles describes his relationship with Colts head coach Frank Reich as one of the most important in his life, both personally and professionally, crediting Coach Reich with figuring him out as a quarterback during their time together in Philadelphia. The keys to that: keeping perspective, not overcoaching him on the sidelines with X's and O's, and making sure Foles always feels calm and confident in his offense, and trusting Matt Nagy has taken notes and intends to emulate that today. Greg?
Amanda, thank you. It is a crisp Sunday afternoon here at Soldier Field. The Indianapolis Colts have won the toss and they have deferred, so the Chicago Bears will get their hands on the football first, and Cordero Patterson is deep for the Bears, and he is no stranger to returning kickoff.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Jags and the Texans. Let's send you out to Houston with our announcers, Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, and Sherry Burris.
JB, thank you. It's the start of a new era in Houston. For the first time since 2013, someone other than Bill O'Brien will lead the Texans as they take on division rival Jacksonville. And hi, everyone. Welcome to Week 5 of the NFL on CBS. Along with the Hall of Famer James Lofton, I'm Andrew Catalon. Sherry Burris will join us coming up. So an 0-4 start for Houston, and the decision was made by Cal McNair on Monday to fire Bill O'Brien. He leaves behind a complicated legacy: 4 division titles, 2 playoff wins, but a bad start this year and some very unpopular personnel moves in his role as general manager. So what do you make of the timing of this decision?
Well, you make the move early because you believe that there is enough talent in the building to win ball games. You do it with 12 games to go. And Romeo Crennel walks in and he has to look at the talent and say, can I push the right buttons? At age 73, he has a personality of a 37-year-old. He's even been in the business for 38 years, so I don't know how that would really work.
He stressed fundamentals this week, and that's especially important in the run defense.
It certainly is, because you can draw it up on paper, but if you are half a step off in the run game, you're going to allow big holes for running backs to run through. They'll have those holes up the middle, and it's the same thing when you're trying to defend on the edge. You have to get to your spots to defeat the running backs in this National Football League.
How will O'Brien's dismissal affect Deshaun Watson and the offense?
Well, there was so much where they were joined at the hip. They worked together to create the success that Deshaun Watson had early in his career. But I really think that they're going to be able to spice it up a little bit in this ballgame, do some exciting, exotic things.
Jacksonville opened the season with a win over the Colts, but since then, they've lost 3 in a row, and in all 3 of those games, they've allowed at least 30 points. Their defense is in a bad place right now.
Yeah, their defense is scrambling. They're running around. They're chasing people as opposed to attacking people on the football field. They just seem like they're out of step, half a step off when trying to make plays. Things are getting thrown over their head. People are running up the middle, right through the gut of their defense.
It will not be any easier today. Take a look at this. Josh Allen, Miles Jack, and C.J. Henderson are all inactive with injuries. There's going to be a lot of pressure on some youngsters on the defensive side of the ball. And it doesn't seem like pressure on the offensive side of the ball applies to this undrafted rookie, James Robinson.
It really doesn't. When you have an undrafted player, you look for a hole in his game. Is he not fast enough? Can he not catch the ball out the backfield? Does he block well against the blitz? Check, check, check. He does all these things well, and I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far.
Time now for Do Project Smarter. It's presented by the Home Depot.
Well, one smart project would be to have a guy who can sack the quarterback. Whitney Merciless, been a linebacker through his career, but 52 career sacks, so he checks off that box. And DJ Chark, get in the end zone. That's where I want my receivers to be. Everybody wants a number 1 receiver like DJ Chark. The keys to the ball game, they're simple, but they're not easy. Run and stop the run for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for the Houston Texans, get a takeaway. Win the takeaway battle. They don't have any takeaways this season yet, Andrew.
Houston has dominated the series of late, winning 4 in a row and 10 of the last 12 against Jacksonville. Both of these teams desperate for a victory. Kickoff coming up, Week 5 of the NFL on CBS. Texans owner Cal McNair making the move earlier this week, firing Bill O'Brien and elevating Romeo Crennel to interim head coach. We'll see how it plays out coming up next. Houston and Jacksonville on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Bengals and the Ravens. Let's send you out to Baltimore with our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Amanda Balionis.
This is M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, the home of the 3-1 Baltimore Ravens. And today, they host their AFC North Division rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals. The hometown Ravens boast one of the most exciting players in the NFL in third-year quarterback Lamar Jackson. The visiting Bengals boast the highly regarded number 1 pick overall in the draft, Heisman Trophy winner Joe Burrow. And with that, we say good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you might be. Greg Gumbel, along with Rich Gannon, Amanda Balionis will join us shortly. Welcome to Baltimore. you must be in heaven. There's so much quarterback talent on this field today, it's hard to believe.
Yeah, Greg, this is a division with some really impressive young players at the quarterback position. We have last year's reigning MVP, Lamar Jackson, and, of course, this year's #1 overall draft pick, Joe Burrow, who's thrown for 300 yards in each of his last 3 starts.
Let's start with the Ravens quarterback, Lamar Jackson. His talent, his athletic ability just scares defensive people to death.
Yeah, special defensive coordinators. I mean, he's just so unique with his physical skill set, and it's just unusual that we see a quarterback with that type of talent when it comes to running with the football. I think his ability to run with the football puts so much stress on a defense. Some of the runs are by design, like this one last week against Washington, and some are unscripted. And they may be the most difficult to defend. In the last 3 meetings between these two teams, Jackson has rushed for 336 yards alone. The Bengals have to be able to tackle the quarterback when he runs, and that was a problem a year ago as they were dead last in run defense, and that's a big reason why they spent a boatload of money in free agency to address that side of the ball.
Now, for the Bengals, at quarterback, the young man of whom so much is expected, he was able to grab his first win in the NFL last week.
Yeah, he looks really comfortable. I mean, he's very poised and composed. He's completing 66% of his passes right now. I think he's got a lot of the qualities that you want at the quarterback position. Most of all, he's smart, he's tough, and dependable, and that's just what the Bengals need, a quarterback that they can rely on.
Now, Joe Burrow is going to be looking over at a Baltimore defense that's not just a test for a young quarterback. They give everybody a hard time.
Yeah, this is a defense that's always been good at getting after the quarterback. They're big up front. They've got linebackers that can run, and you better have a plan in your protection for how you're going to handle Matthew Judon. He had 2 sacks last week, 5 quarterback hits, and, of course, the secondary. Very experienced, especially at the cornerback position with Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. Humphrey always seems to be around the football, and he's great at getting it out. Now, today I'm certain we'll see a lot of blitzes from the Ravens with an experienced rookie quarterback. With that being said, the Bengals have to be able to run the football with Joe Mixon, who's coming off his best performance of the season, rushing for 151 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win over Jacksonville.
All right, Rich, time for Do Project Smarter, presented by The Home Depot.
Well, Cincinnati has to find a way to get A.J. Green going. He's been missing in action the first month of the season with just 14 receptions and not a single touchdown, if you can believe that. When he's rolling, he can be a real difference maker. And Baltimore needs to keep finding tight end Mark Andrews, who has 14 touchdowns since the start of last season. That's tied for most in the league. He is such a big target for Jackson down in the red zone. And now for the keys to the game. The Ravens need to rattle the rookie quarterback. Getting some hits on Burrow early will help. And for the Bengals, they need to contain Lamar Jackson. Keep him in the pocket where he belongs.
Oh, you look for these all season long. A good old-fashioned rumble on tap between 2 AFC North rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. 3-1 Ravens, 1-2-1 Bengals. We're back after this message and a word from your local station. There are no guarantees where division rivalries are concerned. We have one here out of the AFC North, the Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens coming your way next. Kickoff right around the corner here on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. Let's get you out to Kansas City with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, it feels almost like a summer Sunday here in Kansas City. Temperature expected to hit the mid-80s. It's a rivalry that's nostalgic, but quite frankly, it's been lopsided. Thanks in large part to Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs have owned the Raiders in recent years. Derek Carr is trying to flip the script for Las Vegas here this afternoon. AFC West action on CBS from KC. And welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I am Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn-Jones is momentarily from downstairs. 4-0 start for the fourth consecutive year for the Kansas City Chiefs. First team in NFL history to accomplish that. They got the win over New England last week. For Patrick Mahomes, modest numbers if we're comparing them to the numbers that we've all grown accustomed to, CD.
He set a high bar, hasn't he? And the reason that the numbers were modest, the New England Patriots flooded the passing lanes. Didn't give him the long ball, so he took what they gave him. But as he told us, I'll take that, but I sure love to rip it downfield. Now, one of the things that helps his offense was the drafting of this rookie, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, out of LSU. In fact, Patrick Mahomes texted their GM on draft night and said, get Clyde. And they did. He runs it, he catches it, he pass protects, takes care of the football, and he doesn't repeat mistakes, as head coach Andy Reid told us.
Well, defensively, what we've seen is a carryover from the Super Bowl run last year. That was evident in the postseason, and now through the first four games, it's become more than obvious that this group has come together under Steve Spagnuolo. They are producing.
You nailed it. You talked about how it began last year, the second half of the season, through the Super Bowl, and they just picked up where they left off. Run defense, a little bit leaky, but they feel overall their ball hawking, second to none.
Well, for the Raiders, Arrowhead has been a house of horrors. 2-2 on the season, but 7 straight losses here in Kansas City. John Gruden knows, first of all, they got to take care of the football against the Chiefs, and they have to be more competitive on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, John Gruden may be an old school type of a coach wanting to take care of the ball, and he transmits that to his quarterback, Derek Carr, because if they take care of the ball, have some ball control, they'll take care of their defense as well. And when you watch Derek Carr play, he's ideal for that, other than taking care of the ball in the pocket. Now, when he throws it, this is where he's really great. Short, accurate throws to Darren Waller, his best receiver, who's his tight end. But where he's really gotten better over the last couple of years, pocket movement, in and out of it, extending the life of a play, and finding a target downfield as he does here with Hunter Renfrow.
More on the Raiders, down to the moat, and Evan.
Hey, and you know Derek Carr, he's the picture of positivity and optimism. So it drew some attention last week after the loss to Buffalo when he was audibly and visibly frustrated with the loss. But his mood should change today because he gets back 2 key components to this offense. And right tackle Trent Brown has missed the last 3 games with a calf injury, and Henry Ruggs, who's been out the last 2. 4-2 speed, explosive, should help the offense.
All right, have time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
One thing the Las Vegas Raiders have done recently, they've gotten smarter in their drafting. They picked this safety out of Mississippi State 2 years ago, and when he comes up to make a tackle, he brings the boom, and Travis Kelce's heard all week long that maybe he can be covered downfield. That's got his motor revved up. For Kansas City, their keys, need for speed. They want to get the Kansas City Track Club really activated and find some long shots downfield. For the Las Vegas Raiders, they need a pass rush from their front four, led by Max Crosby. They've got to close in on Patrick Mahomes.
123rd all-time meeting between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Approximately 16,000 fans expected to be in attendance here at Arrowhead. We'll come back, get things started from KC after this. It's week 5 of the NFL on CBS, and we join you today from Kansas City. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Chiefs will come back and kick things off after this.
For just the second time in 70 years, we've got Tuesday night football here in the NFL. The Tennessee Titans, they are busting at the seams to play a game. Will play host to the unbeaten Buffalo Bills. Yeah, two teams in the AFC that are currently unbeaten. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, along with Jay Feely, A.J. Ross, and Gene Steratore will be with us as well. We are happy to be here in Nashville, Tennessee. Obviously, Jay, Roger Goodell told us back in August that it wouldn't be a straight line to Super Bowl 55 in Tampa, and we've been zigging and zagging the last couple weeks.
We certainly have. It's been a crazy 2 weeks for this Titans organization. They lost a game. They got kicked out of their facility. They only practiced one time in the last 2 weeks. It all started way back on September 24th, and they had their first COVID. Then you look, they had 12 players on the COVID list, a couple of whom are back tonight, but big name players not able to play tonight. Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, Jeffrey Simmons, they'll miss them certainly. Earlier, though, this evening, we were able to talk to Roger Goodell, and he told me that no one in the Titans organization willingly broke any of the protocol rules, and that was big. He also said he wanted to reemphasize that this organization, the NFL, all the rules put in place are there for the players, the coaches, and the personnel, their safety. That's what they're designed for. They did everything with the NFLPA, and they did it together.
All right, speaking of doing it together, the Titans will be able to do a little things together tonight because A.J. Brown is back with that receiving core.
Yeah, he's huge for Ryan Tannehill in this offense and what they're able to do. Expect them to exploit him, to try to go to him across the middle, take advantage of that interior of that Bills defense.
Yeah, Ryan Tannehill was beaming when he found out that A.J. Brown possibly could be available for tonight's game. All right, how about on the other side? Josh Allen. He is having one of those breakout years that every young quarterback loves.
Well, the progression that he's made from his rookie year to his second year today is just staggering. He's playing unbelievable football, seeing the field well, understanding what defense are doing, and then throwing the ball as well as anybody in the NFL.
Two unbeaten teams in the National Football League get together tonight in Nashville. We'll be back.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Texans and the Titans. Let's head on out to Nashville. And our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Jay Feely.
Thank you, JB. This is Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, where today the Houston Texans will look to build on their first win of the season a week ago against the Tennessee Titans team that is yet to lose in 2020. On display today, two of the premier talents in the NFL. Tennessee's Derrick Henry, big as a linebacker, fast as a racehorse, and one of the exciting young quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, will try to lead Houston to its second straight win. And with that, we say hello and welcome to Nashville, everyone. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Jay Feely will join us shortly. Both these teams were winners last week. Houston for the first time, but they both had things to deal with, Rich.
Yeah, Greg, both teams have had to deal with adversity early in the season. COVID hit the Titans hard. They had to shut down the facility, reschedule a game. As for the Texans, they got off to an ugly start. They fired their coach after an 0-4 start. I think both teams have shown great resiliency to get to this point.
Let's start with the Tennessee Titans, who have themselves a running back that makes defensive people take notice.
Yeah, he's unusual. Let's just say that. He's a big back. He's 6'3". He's almost 250 pounds. He has rare size, speed, and power for the position to go along with a wicked stiff arm, as the Bills' Josh Norman found out on Tuesday night. He's really the key to this offense. He's got unbelievable ability, I think, to finish late in games. And of course, because of his effectiveness, it really helps the play-action game. It's a big part of what Ryan Tannehill does well. He's been so efficient, I think, since taking over in Week 7 a season ago. He's the perfect fit for what they do offensively.
Well, Tennessee has offensive firepower to be sure. The Houston Texans feel they have a couple of terrific defensive players to cope.
Yeah, the run defense, though, has been an issue the first 5 weeks. It was better last week against Jacksonville, but overall, it hasn't been up to their standard. Today, their front seven's going to be tested. J.J. Watt needs to be disruptive inside so that Zach Cunningham can come downhill and fill the run versus Henry. That's the key for the Texans defense.
Now, Houston, after an 0-4 start, hopes that it has things turned around right now. Last week was a giant step in the right direction for this team and this franchise this season because, take a look, the cut down in turnovers and a better defensive performance, all of that contributed to giving the Texans a chance to win. We've said it was a tough week for the Texans, Rich. Usually usually is when a club changes head coaches.
Yeah, but I think they fought through it, Greg. That was important. And, of course, it doesn't hurt when your quarterback has his best game of the season. Deshaun Watson, 359 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns in the win over Jacksonville. And it didn't hurt that he was only sacked once, the fewest in a game this season. And with good protection, he was able to find Brandon Cooks a bit more. 161 yards after just a combined 138 in the previous 4 games. He can be a real difference maker for Houston in the passing game.
And over on defense for Tennessee, Houston will see the familiar face of former Texan Jadeveon Clowney. Every offensive coach in the league will tell you he can disrupt a football game. All right, time for Do Project Smarter by the Home Depot.
Well, there's 2 players who should have an impact in this one. David Johnson of the Texans needs to be more of a factor. Houston is currently just 30th in rushing, averaging just 84 yards a game on the ground. He needs more opportunities in the running game. As for the Titans, they rely on big plays from A.J. Brown, who averaged over 20 yards per reception as a rookie a season ago. He has dangerous after-the-catch ability. And now for the keys to the game. Tennessee would be smart to bring the energy early after a quick turnaround from Tuesday night. They can't afford a slow start versus the Texans. And for Houston, they need to keep a lid on Derrick Henry and the Titans' running game. Holding him under 100 is the key.
Once upon a time, Romeo Crennel was Mike Vrabel's coach. Today, the two square off. Good friends, opposing head coaches this afternoon. We'll continue from Nashville here on CBS after this message and a word from your local station. Tennessee Titans, one of the NFL's unbeatens at 4-0. The Houston Texans will try to do something about that here today. Houston, Tennessee, coming your way here on CBS. Kickoff coming right up.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Browns and the Steelers. Let's send you on out to Pittsburgh with our announcers, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
JP, the colors of the season abound in the Steel City and reflected on the field. Orange and brown, yellow and gold, whatever you want to call it. It is Cleveland and it is Pittsburgh and it is meaningful. And hello, friends, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. Yes, the Steelers are one of 4 unbeaten teams heading into Week 6. Meanwhile, the Browns, they've won 4 in a row. And we've got a relevant game here between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Biggest game for Cleveland in a long, long time, Tony.
You're exactly right. If you're a Brown fan, you've been waiting to play in a game like this. Pittsburgh's been doing it for a long time. Right now, though, this is the game. Cleveland, they're desperate for this game. They want to come in here and win since when, Jim? When was the last time?
Well, they've lost the last 16 years, since 2003.
Today's the day. I think they can do it. This Browns team, it's for real. They're going to be around this whole season.
And that means Roethlisberger has never lost to the Browns here. He's won 22 times overall against Cleveland. He's beaten the Browns franchise more than any starting quarterback in history.
Well, that just shows his ability, his longevity, and obviously him being out last year, it gives you a rejuvenation almost, like you're young again. And all of a sudden, he's playing some of the best football of his career through 4 weeks. You're seeing Roethlisberger get the ball out of his hand. It's a special group they have on offense.
We've got some great matchups in the trenches today. Maybe no bigger matchup than this running attack of Cleveland against the front 7 of Pittsburgh.
Kevin Stefanski comes in. He brings in Bill Callahan, make a few adjustments to that offensive line. Bam, #1 in the league. But guess who they're going against today, Jim? The #2 defense in the NFL against the rush. And this Steeler front 7, it's dominant everywhere. There's no weaknesses. This is a great matchup.
And it's an interesting matchup as well on the other side of it, the offensive line of the Steelers against Myles Garrett and company for Cleveland. Of course, last year we all know what happened with Myles Garrett, the helmet incident with Mason Rudolph. He got suspended the last 6 games of the season. It's been a big talk all week long heading into this one. For the latest on that story, here's Tracy.
Well, Jim, Myles Garrett certainly not expecting a warm welcome here in Pittsburgh, but he did spend some time during pregame talking with Pittsburgh head coach Mike Tomlin. And we spoke with Myles Garrett yesterday, and what he told us is his focus right now is on football and trying to get to Ben Roethlisberger. We also spoke with both coaches. They downplayed it. They said they didn't bring it up to their team once this week. As for Mike Tomlin, he told us he's not looking for any low-hanging fruit or reality TV. His focus, making sure they block Myles Garrett and that backup Mason Rudolph remains behind him on the sidelines the whole game. Jim?
Okay, Tracy. Hey, the NFL is the best reality TV every single week. But anyway, Baker and Odell, they both have issues. The ribs for Baker and just an illness that kept Beckham out of practice for 2 days.
Yep, I expect Odell to be just fine today. Baker, we got to see early in the game. Is he going to be able to take those hits, keep throwing? I think he looks good so far.
Tony, let's do some Project Smarter. Presented by the Home Depot. Let's talk Kareem Hunt and Chase Claypool. Game breakers.
Kareem Hunt comes right in after the Chubb injury. Doesn't look like they've lost a step. Great challenge today against this front seven, though.
How about the rookie? What he did last week? 4 touchdowns in the win against the Eagles.
He did, and I'm telling you, it's not a secret anymore. Everyone knows this might be the steal of the draft. Right now, he's my rookie of the year already.
Yeah, well, what a week that was. And as you said, no secret any longer. Your game point, though, again, it gets back to this right here.
Yeah, Cleveland O-line, Pittsburgh front seven, strength on strength. This reminds me of those old 80s contests. You got the NFC East, right? You got to stop the run, and you got to try and run the football. Today, whoever does that the best is going to come out with a win.
Well, it's a rivalry that goes back to the 1950 season in the NFL, so it's technically the oldest rivalry in the AFC. We're talking about Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and it's coming up next on CBS. When it comes to the Browns and the Steelers, only a 2-hour drive apart, but they're ready to duel. Cleveland and Pittsburgh coming up next on CBS.
From Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, the Dolphins try to make it 2 in a row as they take on the winless Jets. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth. He's the Hall of Famer, James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalon. Sherry Burris will join us coming up. It's been a tumultuous start to the season for the Jets, and the pressure continues to increase on the shoulders of head coach Adam Gase. Him and the Jets desperately need a win today, James.
Yeah, he certainly does. When you look at what has happened to the Jets this past week, all those guys in the building who say, I don't listen to talk radio, I don't watch television, I don't see the newspaper. But with the blindfold and the earplugs, they still know what has happened this past week. Adam Gase, things are closing in on him, and he's had many, many one-on-one meetings with players, staff meetings, and probably meetings with the owner.
So they cut Le'Veon Bell, and Sam Darnold remains out with a shoulder injury. It's Joe Flacco starting at quarterback today.
Yeah, and I kind of love what Joe Flacco talked to us about. In his 13th year, he said, I'm not going to panic. I want to have fun, because this does not last forever. And when you get late in your career, you realize how precious each and every game is.
That sounds a bit like the other quarterback in this game, Ryan Fitzpatrick, still getting it done at the age of 37.
Yeah, he had a terrific game last week, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, a game that kind of wards off the first-round pick a little bit. So for Ryan Fitzpatrick, that beard is still working its magic.
The former Jet quarterback will try to hand New York its 6th consecutive loss to open up the season. Kickoff is coming up, Week 6 of the NFL on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Bills and the Jets. So let's send you out to East Rutherford with our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and AJ Ross.
All right, thank you, JB. Here in East Rutherford, New Jersey, the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, two teams in a slide, each trying to find a way to play winning football here today. Buffalo won its first four, lost its last two, and the pressure and the spotlight are on third-year quarterback Josh Allen. The Jets haven't won since last December. 0-6 this year. Sam Darnold returns from injury today to try and lead the way. And with that, we say hello and welcome everyone. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. AJ Ross will be joining us shortly. As it has for far too many months, the COVID pandemic has struck again, this time hitting the Buffalo Bills, striking down 4 of their players for the time being. It has to be strange, Rich, to try to play this game under those conditions.
Greg, I always say it's hard enough to play this game when you're 100% and you're feeling good. It's really tough when you're under the weather. I know it's a concern for Sean McDermott, as it is for all 32 NFL coaches.
Let's start with the Buffalo Bills on the field. As we said, won their first 4, lost their last 2. Quarterback Josh Allen has to prove that he's the quarterback that we saw in those first 4 games rather than in the last 2.
Yeah, he's really struggled the last 2 weeks, and that's a bit of a surprise, especially when you consider how well he was playing in the month of September. He was having an MVP-type season. They were a perfect 4-0, and then he hits the wall the last 2 games. He needs to be a bit less aggressive and clean up the decision-making.
Now, there's plenty of blame to go around. The Bills' defense has not been dominating. It has not been consistent.
No, the run defense has been a big problem the last few weeks. Look no further than what the Chiefs did to them on Monday night, rushing for 245 yards on 46 carries. They absolutely got gutted. Just watch the linebackers overreact and pursue. When you look at the action away, you watch the left defensive end. He's going to spike the linebacker. He loops, and that opens up a gaping hole. And you see the free safety, Jordan Porter, try and fill just too much space between the ball carrier and the tackler. They missed tackles. They had some poor run fits. The defense has to do a better job against the run.
All right, to the New York Jets now, the only winless team in the National Football League. They get their quarterback Sam Darnold back after a 2-week absence.
Yeah, and they're thrilled to have that happen. You know, they have not won a game without Sam Darnold in the lineup since drafting him back in 2018. They're 0-8. He had the AC joint sprain in his right shoulder. He missed the 2 games. Wednesday was really the first time he was able to throw without pain. He's not yet 100%, but he's healthy enough to be effective in this one. Now, he will not have Jamison Crowder, their third down ace. The good news is Denzel Mims, their second-round pick out of Baylor, who missed the first 6 games with a hamstring. He'll play, as will the left tackle, first-round pick Mekhi Becton. That should help him in the run.
You've been telling me all week the Jets have to run the football today. Who's going to do that for them?
Well, they have to be able to run the ball more effectively with the 37-year-old future Hall of Famer Frank Gore, as well as with the rookie LaMichael P. Ryan.
All right, Rich, time for Do Project Smarter, presented by The Home Depot.
Well, the Bills would be smart to know where Marcus May is on every single snap, as he can be so disruptive down around the line of scrimmage. He had 2 sacks week 1 against the Bills. And likewise, the Jets have to have a plan for how they're going to handle Stephon Diggs, who's 3rd in the NFL in receptions and yards. He's extremely productive after the catch, and now for the keys. Buffalo has to play with a sense of urgency and disregard the record of the Jets and know this is a divisional opponent that's desperate for a win. Finally, the Jets need to cut it loose, let it fly. They need to be aggressive, Greg, and take some calculated risk if they're going to win this game.
Who wants and needs this win the most? The Bills? The Jets? They're about to settle the question down on the field. The NFL on CBS continues after this message and a word from your local station. AFC East rivalry about to be renewed here at the Meadowlands today. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. We're coming right back for the kickoff as we continue here on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Steelers and the Titans. Let's get you out to Nashville with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, Week 7 in the NFL, and we join you from Nashville. Only 3 teams remain undefeated, and 2 of them are here. Ben Roethlisberger has the Pittsburgh Steelers off to their best start since 1978 at 5-0. The Titans are also 5-0, and Derrick Henry has been a wrecking ball for Tennessee as they sit atop the AFC South. Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn joins us from downstairs. Let's get right into this matchup. You think about the things that Derrick Henry has been doing down on the field. It's been mind-blowing, and I think you'd call him a bit of a throwback, CD.
And that's a great thing for this franchise because, all due respect to Chris Johnson, this has been a franchise of big backs. Earl Campbell, the former MVP in the NFL, running through people. How about Eddie George, who has told Derrick Henry to impose his will on defenses? He's been following that lead in a big way. Witness that straight arm that we'll see plenty of today. Big backs are in vogue in Tennessee.
Henry, the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. His production has been through the roof. Last week, in fact, he outgained 6 teams in the NFL in Week 6. Think back to 1 year ago. Ryan Tannehill was named the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. It has changed his life, his career. It has changed the fortunes of this organization as well.
It certainly has. Their trajectory has just gone straight up. Remember, they make the change, they get to the AFC Championship game. They keep the change. They're undefeated so far this year. He has taken over this entire team with his leadership.
But a change on the offensive line. Left tackle, Pro Bowler Taylor Lewan, torn ACL last week. Veteran Ty Sambrailo steps in to help protect Tannehill. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are on pace to set a new franchise record in scoring, and they have a revelation at the wide receiver position. It's the rookie, Chase Claypool.
Heard Nate Burleson talk about him on the NFL Today with his catch radius and the things that he brings to the table. Look what he does. Outside the numbers, traditional wide receiver beats the defender off the line of scrimmage. Move him into the slot, but don't cover him with a linebacker. That's an easy play for him. That's a touchdown. And then ice the cake. He can run the football well with jet sweeps. 2 touchdowns on the ground thus far this year.
A big hit defensively, though, for Pittsburgh. Let's go to Evan Washburn.
Yeah, and a season-ending knee injury for linebacker Devin Bush. It's a brutal loss for this Steelers defense because of his impact all over the field, but the fact that he also never came off the field, so there's very little proven depth behind him. A playmaker sideline to sideline, often leading this team in tackles. So in steps former undrafted free agent linebacker Robert Spillane, a special teams ace that up until last week had only played in 9 defensive snaps in 3 NFL seasons. He will wear the green dot, guys. They have confidence in him, but he will not play every snap. They'll work him into that full-time role.
And Evan, this is a confidence group defensively. 18.8 points per game. That's 3rd fewest in the NFL. They're on pace for 77 sacks. They've been a sack machine. And splash plays, big ones, sacks, interceptions. They seem to do it every single week. Time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers made a smart move trading for Minkah Fitzpatrick last year. There was one of those splash plays, an interception for a touchdown against Cleveland just last week. And A.J. Brown, he is wide receiver 1 for the Tennessee Titans. Catches it out wide, can also break people down after the catch. Our keys for the game for the Titans, they've got to get off the field on 3rd down. They're giving up 58%. That's got to change. And for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they want to play keep away on offense, control the clock, keep the ball away from Derrick Henry.
The Steelers and the Titans ready to go toe-to-toe. And we are set to go from Nashville. One of these 2 teams will grab the upper hand in the race for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Opening kickoff coming up here on CBS. A big one today in Tennessee. Two 5-0 teams going head-to-head. The Steelers and the Titans from Nashville will have the opening kickoff when we come back. The NFL on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Browns and the Bengals. Let's take you out to Cincinnati with our announcers, Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta.
JB here in the Queen City. Overcast skies, temperatures in the mid to low 40s. Starting to feel like football weather as we are set inside Paul Brown Stadium, where they're expecting upwards of 12,000 for the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. It is a matchup between two former Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield under the microscope this week after his struggles last Sunday in Pittsburgh. And Joe Burrow, his evolution as a rookie quarterback continues. Can he secure his first win in the division as an NFL starter? Hi, everyone. Welcome to the NFL on CBS alongside Adam Archuleta. I'm Spiro Ditas. The Cleveland Browns, boy, such a disappointing performance last week in one of the biggest regular season games they've played, Arch, in recent memory. And if they fancy themselves a contender, this is a game they have to win today.
Well, the Browns had a chance last week to make a statement, but they were dominated by Pittsburgh. For Cincinnati, they are playing better, and you're seeing some signs, but they just can't figure out a way to put four solid quarters together.
All right, let's dive into this Cleveland team. Baker Mayfield still playing with that cracked rib. He's not going to get much sympathy from Browns fans, certainly not from the opposition, but 2 interceptions each of their last 2 games. He's really struggled.
Well, the scrutiny is there, Spiro, because when he's been at his best, he's been more of a game manager, and when he's played his worst, it's been against the top defenses. Now, one thing that continues to show up when you study his turnovers is how he locks onto his target and how he doesn't seem to see the extra defender in the middle of the field. You saw that against the Colts, and then it showed up again last week, locking onto the slant, and he doesn't see Minkah Fitzpatrick coming down from the secondary, stealing it, and going the other way. Now, the questions are going to continue to be there, and until he plays his best against the top teams and the top defenses, the scrutiny will be there, and he will always have to answer those questions.
Meantime, Cincinnati, boy, what a disappointing finish to that game last week. They jump out in Indianapolis, had the 21-0 lead before the Colts came back to win. Second largest blown lead in Bengals franchise history. However, the impressive play of their first-year quarterback has been the story for this team.
Joe Burrow leads the league in attempts and completions, and Zach Taylor is not afraid to put the ball on his hands and let him just wing it. Now, his pre-snap recognition of the defense is what's really starting to show. The Colts showing a delayed blitz, but he knows that he has this thing protected. Has the patience, one-on-one on the outside, and throws a beauty for T. Higgins down the sideline. But he's still young, and he's still learning, and this time the Colts bait him. Showing pressure, man-to-man look, but on the snap, they're going to drop back and they're going to play zone. Burrow thinks that he has the seam down the middle, but doesn't see that backside safety. The one thing I would love to see from Burrow in this offense is the downfield passing game. Only 2 completions when he's thrown the ball over 20 yards this season. Spiro, that is the next step.
Well, they're at a big disadvantage today. Big piece of injury news. No Joe Mixon, their star running back, re-aggravated that right foot injury last week. And so Giovanni Bernard, the longtime mainstay dual threat back, is their lead running back today. Meantime, do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
Browns have a powerful running game, but they also have 2 players that are pretty good receivers outside. Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., to me, have to be a more featured part of this offense to give them balance. T. Higgins is not the only rookie on this offense. 125 yards last week and showing that he can catch that ball down the field. The Browns have to get back to dominating the line of scrimmage. That is the calling card of this football team. Didn't happen last week. And for the Bengals, up front, you've got to get after Baker Mayfield. You've got to try and force him into making that bad mistake.
Well, the Browns took the first meeting between these two teams back in Cleveland in Week 2 in a high-scoring affair. What happens today in an AFC North battle here in Cincinnati? You're watching the NFL on CBS. on CBS presents this Week 7 matchup in the AFC North between the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. And we will have the opening kick from downtown Cincinnati right after this. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
Our doubleheader day on CBS continues. Autumn in full swing as we get set for the tilt between two franchises that know all about dynasties. San Francisco and New England coming up on CBS. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz. Hello, Tony Romo. Tracy Wolfson with us as well. These are two teams, Tony, that have been really battered by COVID, by injuries. But this is the game everyone's billing as the return for Jimmy Garoppolo to New England.
It is, and I'll tell you, no one knows this defense better than Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been here, he's studied, he's gone against Belichick over and over again, so I think he's prepared, right? But everybody who thinks they know Belichick, sometimes it switches up, but I think he's excited. You want to go back and show your boss, hey, I was good when I was here.
I tell you, Cam Newton wants to show everybody something, too, because he said after last week's loss to Denver, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm pointing thumbs at myself.
Yes, and that's what you want out of your leader. You want them to look at themselves. You want them to say, hey, guys, get on my back. I tell you, they need to get off to a good start here. Both these teams play better from the lead early in the first quarter. That's how you got to play and win in this type of game. If you get behind, you let these guys tee off on you.
All right, before we kick it up, let's get down to Tracy.
Well, Jim, after practicing just twice in the previous 2 weeks, the Patriots got back to a little sense of normalcy, in-person meetings, some live practices, and they got some key players back. Cam Newton telling us this week, the excuse bucket is low. There is no time to waste, and you can tell there is a sense of urgency here. But while the Patriots are getting healthy, the Niners continue to be plagued by injuries. Running back Raheem Mostert becomes the 19th player put on IR, and they will be without 3 key defensive starters, including both safeties today, Jim.
Well, it's almost incomprehensible what the 49ers have had to deal with as far as injuries, but they came back with a big win against the Rams last Sunday night. After a debacle against the Dolphins the previous week, it is, again, perfect snapshot of the autumn season. Just a notch below 50 and the full colors of the season all over the New England landscape. Patriots have elected to kick off.
You are looking at beautiful new SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, as we welcome you to Week 7 of the NFL on CBS. Today, the Jaguars take on the Chargers. And hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth alongside the Hall of Famer James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalan. Sherry Burris will join us coming up. Justin Herbert still looking for his first victory, but there's still a lot to like about the Chargers rookie quarterback, James.
Yeah, there certainly is. When you think about the NFL, it's such a bottom line business. You talk about wins and losses, but the first 4 weeks of Justin Herbert's young career have been super impressive. You've watched him throw under pressure. You've watched him throw deep. You've watched him throw short. Everything that you wanted to know about him, I think Charger fans are loving and want to see more and more of this young kid.
Jacksonville will be without 3 defensive starters today, but they do get back Josh Allen, and boy, do they need him to get some pressure on Herbert.
They really do. They are not getting to the quarterback very well, but Josh Allen is the guy who can do that. He had 10.5 sacks last year as a rookie, 2 this year. They really need him to get it going and to get after young Justin Herbert.
Doug Marrone and Anthony Lynn, the head coaches, each trying to stop losing streaks. Jacksonville's dropped 5 in a row, while the Chargers have lost 4 straight. L.A. won the toss, and they have elected to defer. So Ty Long will kick it away, and Jacksonville will have the football first.
Andrew, we used to call this game when we were losing like this.
Denver, Colorado, CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today it's the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. It is 17 degrees. The wind is stiff out of the north at 12 miles an hour. It will snow, they say, the entire game. Hi, everyone. Kevin Harlan with Jay Feely. We'll check in with Melanie Collins downstairs in just a moment. The rushing attacks at center stage for both these teams today.
Yeah, normally when you talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, you're talking about the prolific passing attack. But they have been running the ball, and I expect them to continue to run the ball. Because of the way defenses are playing with their safety so deep, not allowing the big play. You saw it against Buffalo, 245 yards rushing. The Chiefs have said, if you're going to do that, we're going to take what you give it. And they controlled the game against Buffalo. But it all starts really with this rookie. He's been spectacular for them. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And what he's done, he came in, even though he's a rookie, he understands this offense. And Patrick Mahomes said he has great vision. He always hits the right hole.
And a couple terrific running backs for the Denver Broncos as well.
For the Broncos to win this game, they have to be able to run the ball and control the clock. They've only had both of these guys together for one half this year. They need these guys pounding the ball. Patrick Mahomes, 1-6 in his career when teams control the ball for over 35 minutes.
All right, we've had the flip of the coin. The Broncos won the toss. They have decided to receive.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Patriots and the Bills. Let's take you out to Orchard Park with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, first day of November here in western New York. There is rain, high winds, Buffalo in the fall. Bills quarterback Josh Allen continues to take a major step forward in year 3 of his young career. And how does Cam Newton respond after getting benched last week in a blowout loss to San Francisco? It's a division that's been thoroughly dominated by the Patriots for nearly 20 years. Now, New England is looking up in the standings. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn will join us momentarily. Charles, not to over-dramatize things by any stretch, but could this be the passing of the torch in the AFC East? The Bills certainly believe it's their time. They have a chance to move to 6-2 on the season. They haven't won a division title since 1995, but they like their offensive firepower, certainly in the passing game.
And they should, because they've got plenty of it. And if they're going to pass the torch, they're going to do it by passing the ball. Stephon Diggs, their big deep threat. Cole Beasley, he works underneath. But together, tremendous targets for their young quarterback, Josh Allen. So if they want to play long ball, he can do it. If he wants to throw it underneath, he can get it done that way. Both of these guys also yards after the catch, which is significant. And for Josh Allen, being able to throw the long ball is a big part of who he is because of his arm. But he's learning in these recent weeks. He's got to be patient sometimes and just execute the offense because of the defenses.
There has been a drop-off offensively, though. Compare the first 4 games for Buffalo, averaging over 30 points, nearly 410 yards per game. Last 3, 17 points and 332 yards of offense. That includes the win last week over the Jets. Time to get more on the defense, dealing with the elements today, the players, and our own Evan Washburn.
Yeah, Ian, that's putting it lightly. But defensively for the Bills, they've admitted that they're still searching for their identity, and that's a surprise to some based off of how good they were a year ago. But it's important to note, personnel changes and a run of key injuries across that defense have created growing pains. But guys are coming off their best performance of the season. Second half against the Jets, holding the Jets to 4 total yards. They called it a momentum builder. But again, injuries, a storyline without Micah Hyde or Josh Norman for this one due to injuries. Fellas?
All right, Evan, let's shift it over to New England Patriots. They are dealing with completely unfamiliar territory right now. First 3-game losing streak since 2002. Have to go back to 2001. First time they've been 2 games under 500. They won the Super Bowl that year with Tom Brady. lost by 27 points last week to San Francisco, biggest home defeat since 1998, and only 3 total passing touchdowns through the first 6 games. How do we evaluate where Cam Newton is right now, CD?
Well, they're still going through that process with him, but we were fooled early, quote unquote, because it looked like he acclimated quite well in the first few ball games. But recently, the struggles have begun. And let's take a look at early in the season, Cam Newton throwing the football. Second game of the year at Seattle. This is what you're looking for. Beautiful pass, beautiful touch, perfectly placed. Then the struggles have occurred. Last week against San Francisco in New England, he doesn't even see Fred Warner running the route in front of his receiver, Jacoby Myers. What I suspect we'll see more of today, the run game. Cam Newton being physical, running the ball.
They are missing some key players, though. Julian Edelman placed on IR, N'Keal Harry out with a concussion, and Stephon Gilmore injured during practice this week. He is inactive. Time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
And the New England Patriots have one of the smarter players in the league, one of the better leaders in Devin McCourty. He'll have to take an active role in this one today to try and get New England going. And for Buffalo, they want to get Devin Singletary going in the running game. This guy could be lightning out in the open field. Our keys to the day for the Buffalo Bills, this is a huge chance for them to make not just a stand, but a statement in the AFC East. For the New England Patriots, they need Super Cam to return for them today.
It is the Patriots and the Bills here from Orchard Park. Buffalo has not beaten the Pats at home since 2011. Countdown to kickoff continues. The NFL on CBS. Week 8 of the NFL, we join you from Bills Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. Today, the Patriots and the Bills, the opening kick is coming up.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram. The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Steelers and the Ravens. Let's get you out to Baltimore with our announcers, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
JB, it's a true rivalry. Yes, indeed. The toughest team wins. What a game it's going to be here. First place in the AFC North on the line. The undefeated Steelers, the last unbeaten team, taking on the two-time defending AFC North champion, Baltimore Ravens. Hello, friends. Jim Nance and Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. Look forward to presenting this game to you. And yes, you look back since the Ravens came here to Charm City. That rivalry in the regular season. Look how closely matched it is. Separated by a grand total of 7 points aggregate. It's just amazing. You know, a year ago, Baltimore swept the games, Tony, the 2 against Pittsburgh. Steelers were without Roethlisberger for those games, but this is as good as it gets.
It is, and you talk about it. Everyone knows about this history, right? It's the rivalry. It's like smash mouth football. This is defense. This is run the football. And with it being wet today, this is going to be about the ball. You cannot turn the ball over and give a short field. Otherwise, this thing always comes down to one possession, Jim. It's going to come down to the end.
I mentioned Ben. He told us how much he missed this rivalry in the 2 occasions last year being injured.
He did, and, you know, he respects the Ravens. He doesn't like coming to play here because they're good, but he says it's very rewarding when you can go on the road and beat a team that you know is this well coached and has a chance to, you know, win the Super Bowl. Both these teams really do, especially right now. They look like 2 of the top 4.
And they got great defenses. The Steelers front 7, very dynamic. The guys on the edge like Dupree and Watt, they can bring it.
They can, and you're exactly right. This front 7 is outstanding, probably the best in ball. And on the edge, Bud Dupree, TJ Watt, they're relentless. It's a run, set the edge. Nope, now get after the quarterback, and they won't stop. And it helps a lot when you have these guys in the middle. Tuitt, Hayward, and even Allahu. They push the pocket, Jim, and they collapse it. It's hard on quarterbacks. You've got to stay in phase, and I really believe Baltimore needs to run the ball for at least 4 yards on first down consistently to move the chains.
Well, the Ravens have a great defense as well, but let's talk about Lamar Jackson, the MVP a year ago. This team off to a 5-1 start. Their last game, they had a bye last week. He rushed for over 100 in a win against Philadelphia.
Yes, and everyone talks about it like, oh, what's going on? He's not quite the same as he was with the MVP season last year. And I'm like, well, nobody has an MVP season every year. And I think what you're finding is just a few different guys on that team. Marshall Yanda retired, lose a guy over here. Everyone studies you in the offseason, and all of a sudden it's a little harder. But they're really good. He's a 5-1 quarterback, and I think they're only going to get better.
Well, during the bye week, they went out and got Yannick Ngakoue, who had just a short stint up in Minnesota. You remember him from his days in Jacksonville. Saxonville, they called it, when he teamed up with Calais Campbell. And now they got those two quarterback rushers all teamed up here in Baltimore.
Yeah, and that's an outstanding job before the trade deadline. Going in there and getting Ngakoue, really. You know, Campbell's been here. Getting Ngakoue changes things. They needed that speed on the edge. They're going to use him in the passing situations, and they're going to get him after the quarterback. I mean, this guy has 5 sacks. We're acting like he wasn't playing well or something. He's still been he's playing at very high level still.
It's time to do Project Smarter by the Home Depot. Talk about high level, Tony. How about the top targets for the quarterbacks?
Well, Juju Smith-Schuster, everyone knows about him. He does all the little stuff that winning players and winning teams do. He catches the stuff inside, third down packages, blocks on the edge, all the stuff you need.
And Mark Andrews.
Well, he's the number one option, Jim. Look for him in the passing game. That's the guy that Jackson looks to over and over again. You got to stop him when they play action. He's a big target.
And Tony, your game points, the Steelers beat the blitz.
They have to beat the blitz. No one blitzes more than this team. Today, the Ravens, 2 of the best in the league at blitzing, and you have to get the ball down the field today. I really believe you have to throw it over the top of this Ravens defense.
And the Ravens must create big plays, you say.
Yeah, but that all starts with this one play up the middle. The Ravens need to get that little 3-4 yard dive play, and then everything comes from that. Otherwise, I don't see many teams going 12 plays in this weather today, do you?
No, I don't, but hopefully it'll clear by the second half. The rain's been coming down here for about 3 hours, but we're just minutes away from kickoff. Can't wait. Can't wait. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, heading your way on CBS. Fifth time in the regular season, third most all time, Harbaugh and Tomlin will meet as the Ravens host the Steelers coming up on CBS.
Welcome to Empower Field at Mile High, the home of the Denver Broncos, who today welcome the Los Angeles Chargers. It is an AFC West matchup that finds both these teams beginning this day looking up at the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders, both of whom won their games today. With that, we say hello, everyone, and welcome to Denver. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Jay Feely will be along shortly. Another one of those weeks where the COVID crisis hit, affecting both these teams, each sending an offensive lineman to the COVID-restricted list. Ryan Groy of the Chargers and Graham Glasgow of the Denver Broncos. Fortunately, that's where it stops. Now, to the game, Rich, and to 2 young quarterbacks on display, second-year quarterback for Denver and a rookie for the Chargers that everybody's talking about.
Greg, you know I like young quarterbacks. Let's start with the Chargers. Justin Herbert, who was just named the AFC Offensive Rookie of the Month for October. He has been solid, and it's throws like this that get your attention. You can see the arm talent, the accuracy. He's completing over 67%, and his ability to hold the safety with his eyes as he finds the tight end working up the seam for the touchdown. As for the Broncos, it's never a good thing when your head coach Vic Fangio says we need to fix the entire passing game. There's no question Locke has struggled with consistency this season, and it doesn't help that they're so young and inexperienced on offense. That being said, he needs to be more accurate and take better care of the football. throwing 4 picks in the last 2 games.
For the 121st time in the regular season, these two old rivals are about to meet. The Broncos and the Chargers with kickoff right around the corner here on CBS after this.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Broncos and the Falcons. So let's take you out to Atlanta with our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Jay Feely.
This is Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, the home of the Falcons, who today welcome the Denver Broncos to town. Second-year Denver quarterback Drew Lock last week engineered an extraordinary fourth-quarter comeback in a win over the LA Chargers. And if they're to win here today, the Broncos will have to keep tabs on one of the truly great wide receivers, Julio Jones, this afternoon. With that, we say hello and welcome to Atlanta, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Rich Gannon. Jay Feely will be along in just a moment. Two teams, Rich, looking to build on some momentum.
Yeah, 2 teams great. They got off to horrible starts this season and yet somehow found a way to rebound nicely. Denver has won 3 of their last 4. Atlanta has won 2 of their last 3 since the coaching change.
I said last week in the fourth quarter, Drew Lock was extraordinary. If not extraordinary, he was really, really good.
He was. It wasn't a pretty start, let's put it that way. The offense and Drew Lock really struggled for 3 quarters last week before waking up and unloading on the Chargers in the fourth quarter. He was a different player late in that game. His footwork, decision-making, and accuracy were a big reason why they were able to rally from a 21-point deficit. He needs to be able to build off of that performance here today, and it begins by getting off to a better start offensively.
On defense, man, have the Broncos been hit hard by injury to some key personnel.
Yeah, Denver's defense has kept them in games this season, but the injuries are beginning to take their toll, especially along that defensive line. They already lost Jarrell Casey and Mike Purcell to injuries, and today they'll be without Shelby Harris as well as both starting corners, A.J. Boye and Bryce Callahan, but they still have 2 premier safeties in Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons, who are both physical and can tackle and make plays down around the line of scrimmage. I wouldn't be surprised, Greg, to see Simmons line up a little bit on Julio Jones and keep an eye out on Kareem Jackson. He is a violent tackler down around the line of scrimmage.
For Atlanta, a coaching change 3 games ago. Dan Quinn out, Raheem Morris in as interim head coach, and the Falcons have played well under him.
Yeah, Raheem Morris has done a nice job since taking over for Dan Quinn. And remember, he did this once before, taking over for John Gruden in Tampa Bay after the 2008 season. He's installed a sense of urgency, and this team has responded to his leadership, winning 2 of their last 3.
Now, a coach could do worse, Rich, than to inherit the passing combo of Matt Ryan to Julio Jones.
Yeah, no quarterback-wide receiver duo has been as productive as Matt Ryan and Julio Jones since 2011, and the numbers are staggering. They've combined for 820 completions. And they just have a tremendous working relationship and feel for one another in the passing game. Ryan is deadly accurate, and Jones is a big physical receiver with rare speed for his size.
We were awaiting a late decision on the playing status of Calvin Ridley, the very talented wide receiver for the Falcons. He is out with a foot injury today. He will not play. Rich, time for Do Project Smarter by The Home Depot.
Yeah, some really good running backs in this one, starting with Atlanta's Todd Gurley, who has 66 rushing touchdowns since entering the league in 2015. That's the most. However, he's averaging just 2.6 yards per carry over his last 3 games. They need to get more from the running game. And for Denver, they have a pair of backs, but the one that's been the most productive and explosive and really gotten my attention is Philip Lindsay, who ripped off that 55-yard touchdown run last week against the Chargers. And now for the keys to the game. The Broncos need to get off to better starts offensively. They can't keep waiting until the fourth quarter to start making plays. And the Falcons need to build on that momentum by getting their first home win of the season here today.
The Falcons have won 2 of their last 3. The Broncos 3 of their last 4. Who continues their role today here in Atlanta? We'll continue from Mercedes-Benz Stadium here on CBS after this message and a word from your local station. We are just about ready for kickoff. The Denver Broncos out of the AFC West, the Atlanta Falcons out of the NFC South. They will do battle, and we have kickoff coming up right around the corner when we continue from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. After this.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Ravens and the Colts. So let's send you out to Indianapolis with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JP, an absolutely beautiful day here in Indianapolis. The roof is open at Lucas Oil Stadium. 2 5-2 teams going head-to-head. Baltimore's Lamar Jackson trying to bounce back after a subpar performance against the Steelers last week. And Phillip Rivers of the Colts, he's been on a hot streak. Indy looking for its 3rd straight win today. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast booth. Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn will join us from downstairs. We knew coming into the season the Ravens were one of the best teams in the NFL. The Colts have been flying a little bit under the radar. Let's start with Baltimore. Charles, you've looked at all the film. You've seen a bunch of their games. What do you think's going on right now with the reigning NFL MVP, Lamar Jackson?
Well, I think that it's mainly in the passing game where timing and consistency have been an issue because he's needed to spread the ball around to more than Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews. And he's trying to get other guys involved, but the consistency in getting it to his number one target in Hollywood Brown has not been there. All off season, they talked about hitting the deep ball and throws outside the numbers. This is the season opener against Cleveland. Accomplished there on one throw. Here we are a few weeks ago against Cincinnati. This throw has to be made, has to be hit. Here he is breaking inside. He's open, put it on him. He airmails it instead. They've got to find a way to become consistent.
Changes on the offensive line. Last year, one of the best units in the NFL. Marshall Yonda, the perennial Pro Bowler, retired. Ronnie Stanley, ankle injury last week. He's done for the season. So out at left tackle, Orlando Brown shifts over to that spot. Ravens feel good about that. Injury to the rookie Phillips. McCarry steps in at right guard, and Fluker now is the starter at right tackle. A lot of other hurdles for the Ravens this week. Evan has more.
Yeah, and that's putting it lightly. Defensively, nearly half their starters were kept off the practice field this week due to a positive COVID test on Monday for All-Pro corner Marlon Humphrey, who's now in a 10-day isolation period. This leaves the Ravens extremely thin at that cornerback position. As you can see, really only 2 proven players there in Jimmy Smith and Marcus Peters. Dorsey and Bonds a combined 21 defensive snaps this season. Most importantly, though, guys, as we understand it, Marlon is doing well. He actually took part in a lot of the virtual meetings this week to get this defense ready for the Colts.
Yeah, it's good to hear, Evan. Nice to see that he was involved with his teammates. Let's shift it over to Indianapolis. Charles, Colts are starting to open some eyes around the NFL, and Phillip Rivers is finding his groove with his new squad.
He certainly is, and part of the reason he came, he knew the head coach Frank Reich. He knew the offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni. The playbook was not going to be an issue, and he is starting to acclimate in a big way. 6 touchdown passes, 1 interception in his last 2 games. He's making all the right decisions.
He is playing behind a premier offensive line. They've allowed just 8 sacks this season, fewest in the NFL. They're durable, they're consistent, and they are a cohesive group. No T.Y. Hilton today. Wide receiver is out with a groin injury, so a little thinner in that spot. Defensively, boy, this Colts team has come together quite nicely here this season, and a welcome addition last week. Darius Leonard returns from injury, just provided some pop and energy for the Colts.
He provided all that and then some. Missed the previous 2 games, came back, announced his presence with authority, a big strip sack of Matthew Stafford that helped him lead to a big win.
All right, time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
Well, you go back to last year's draft, one of the smarter things their GM Eric DeCosta did was take J.K. Dobbins when he popped up in the 2nd round. Despite other needs, it's starting to pay dividends already. He's now their lead back. And DeForest Buckner came over in a draft day trade, and he drives their defense from his defensive tackle position. When we take a look at the keys for Indianapolis, that big offensive line, they want to get back to mashing with 3 running backs back there. And for the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson, don't press, man, just play.
Ravens are in bounce-back mode after the loss to Pittsburgh. Colts trying to keep it rolling today at home. We've got all the action coming up. Countdown to kickoff continues. The NFL on CBS. It's week 9 in the NFL, and we join you today from Indianapolis. The Ravens and the Colts going toe-to-toe. We'll have the opening kick after this.
The NFL on CBS continues the doubleheader game for the Dallas area. Yes, it's a gorgeous autumn afternoon. The roof is open. The Steelers are in town, and the Cowboys today will try to pull off a long shot victory. The Steelers, the last undefeated team in the NFL. Hello, friends. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. Yes, the deck is heavily stacked against the Cowboys. They're going to start their fourth quarterback in the last 5 games. The first career start coming for Garrett Gilbert today.
What a game to have
against this defense.
It's a game you really don't want to have as your first start, but it is a great opportunity. You only get so many chances, and I'll tell you, I know he's excited, but to go against this defense, it feels like it's like a really tough task, isn't it, Jim?
No kidding. Doesn't get any harder than this. Then on the other side, you've got Ben playing really well after the injury last year, the elbow surgery and all. And, well, Roethlisberger's led them to this undefeated start.
Yeah, and he's playing great football. He's getting the ball out of his hands, but he's protecting the football. They should have really lost to the Ravens based on yardage, everything that happened in the game last week, but he's protecting the ball, and they're winning these close games. Clutch plays. He's playing really great winning football.
Well, the Cowboys do have one major weapon with them today. For the latest on the Cowboy injury report, here's Tracy.
Well, that's right, Jim. Ezekiel Elliott has been limited all week in practice with a hamstring injury. Actually, Mike McCarthy telling me before the game, it's not only a strain, but also a bruise. They worked him out for about 20 minutes earlier today. As you can see here, he then went over to his athletic trainer and his running backs coach, and they decided he is going to give it a go. How much he plays today remains to be seen, but Jim, he still has yet to miss a game because of injury.
That is, these days, that's a pretty amazing accomplishment, but it's been tough sledding for Zeke like everybody else with that banged-up offensive line. He has not had a 100-yard performance this season, but he's up, and he's going to be ready to go when the Cowboys get their opportunity. They have deferred here at the top. They're going to send it down.
The roof is open in Arizona as we get set for a good one on CBS. The 4-3 Dolphins visit the 5-2 Cardinals. And hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth. Along with the Hall of Famer James Lofton, I'm Andrew Catalan. We'll hear from Michael Grady coming up. 2 young quarterbacks take center stage today. And for Arizona, there's a lot to like right now about Kyler Murray.
There certainly is a second-year player who has that swagger, that confidence, and it is shown in the way that he's playing on the field. In his second year, he said, every pass I can make, every run I'm not afraid to take. His confidence, I think, is flowing throughout the rest of the team right now.
And for Miami, it's start number 2 for Tua. Won his debut a week ago against the Rams. What do you want to see out of Tua today?
Well, you want to see that next step. You want to see something that you saw when he was playing in the SEC. You want to see those 300-yard games. You want to see those wins. And I think for the most important thing, Tua realizes we won the game last week, and that's always important to stack up those W's.
2 second-year head coaches having terrific sophomore seasons. Brian Flores, his Miami team at 4-3, and Seattle lost earlier today to Buffalo. So if Arizona wins, Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals move into first place in the NFC West. Arizona won the coin toss, and they have elected to defer. So it will be Tua time to start up this one here in Week 9.
Jakeem Grant is the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Had an 88-yard punt return for a touchdown a week ago in the victory over the Rams.
You know, as this game gets started, Andrew, I think one of the
Welcome to Glendale, Arizona, Week 10 in the NFL. This should be a fun one in the Valley. The Buffalo Bills and Arizona Cardinals. Sean McDermott's team trying to win the division for the first time since 1995. 2 games ahead of Miami right now. And Cliff Kingsbury and the Cardinals been a nice surprise in the NFC, currently 1 game behind Seattle in the West. And here in the broadcast booth, Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn will join us from downstairs. Potential shootout today here in the desert. Charles, 2 of the most exciting quarterbacks in the NFL, dual threats, and both have gotten themselves into the MVP conversation.
And it's legit conversation.
Yes.
This isn't just us hyping it. This is Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. And Josh Allen, last week's AFC Offensive Player of the Week, a monster game, 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing, and led him to a big win over Seattle. And when he wants to throw it deep, he has the leading receiver in the NFL, in Stephon Diggs. For Kyler Murray, equally as exciting, a different way of getting it done. But when he wants to push the ball downfield, he throws it to 3-time first-team All-Pro DeAndre Hopkins. Fireworks indeed headed our way.
Countdown to kickoff continues. The NFL on CBS. We've got the marquee matchup. Allen, Murray, and the rest of the gang. Next.
This is Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida. The Los Angeles Chargers here today, hungry for a win, and the Miami Dolphins, who have won each of their last 4 outings. 2 of the NFL's most promising quarterbacks on display here today. The draft's number 5 pick, Miami quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, and on the flip side of the field, LA's Justin Herbert, the 6th overall selection in the 2020 draft. And with that, we say hello and welcome, everyone, to Hard Rock Stadium. Along with my partner Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. AJ Ross will be joining us from the sideline. Eyebrows went up all over the place around here a couple of weeks ago when Tua Tagovailoa was named the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. He's not only doing okay, he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, Greg, folks here in South Florida are excited about Tua, and they should be. He's off to a great start. I think it's his accuracy and decision-making that have been really solid through the first 2 games. He definitely provides that big playability for this Miami offense, whether it's with his arm or his legs.
Now, Tua and the Dolphins are benefiting from a defense that's been playing some terrific football.
Yeah, I think it's where they've made their most improvement this season. It's on the defensive side of the ball. Just check out the numbers. The most important, the scoring is down significantly from a season ago.
Now, LA quarterback Justin Herbert does not have a sparkling 1-loss record. That doesn't mean that he hasn't been playing well and looking impressive.
Yeah, he's throwing for 300 yards each week. The only problem, Greg, is that they're not winning those games. So I know it's been a frustrating start. Just 1-6 as a starter so far this season, but he has put his team in a position to have a chance to win each week.
Herbert versus Tua. The Chargers and the Dolphins facing off here today, and we're coming back to Hard Rock Stadium for the opening kick right after this.
From Las Vegas, CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are in the thick of the AFC playoff race with an easier second half of the season schedule. Right now, a couple games are back at first place, Kansas City. The Broncos on the outside looking in. They have lost 2 of 3. This sets our backdrop today here in the desert. Hi, everyone. Kevin Harlan alongside Trent Green. We'll check in with Melanie Collins moments from now. The Raiders, Trent, have won 3 of their last 4 games. One of the reasons why the terrific play of their quarterback, Derek Carr.
Well, and Kevin, you could make the argument that this is the best season of Derek Carr's career, and statistics prove that out. He's completing nearly 70% of his passes. He's taking care of the football in terms of not throwing critical interceptions. And the thing he told us is, as he's gotten older, he's enjoying the process more. You have to figure out who you are as a player, and you have to maintain that.
On the Broncos side, like we said, they've lost 2 of 3. They're 3-5, and their quarterback, Drew Lock, has yet to complete really a full season in the NFL as a starting quarterback.
Well, it's easy to forget how young he really is. And if you look at his first 4 games, there were some struggles and some inconsistency. But the last 2 weeks, he's performed much better. 5 touchdown passes in those 2 games. He understands that he can't force the ball in there. He has to take what the defense gives him.
These 2 teams have split the last 5 season series. The Denver Broncos, the Las Vegas Raiders. Our kickoff is next on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Steelers and the Jaguars. So let's send you out to Jacksonville with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, Week 11 in the NFL, and the Pittsburgh Steelers remain perfect on 9-0 record as they match up with the Jaguars today in Jacksonville. Steelers fans with a chance to see their team in person and get a look at the AFC Offensive Player of the Week, Ben Roethlisberger, who is having an impeccable November. And here in the broadcast booth, Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn will join us from downstairs. This is a historic franchise, and it's the best start in team history. Let's go back over the last 20 years. Teams that started 9-0 or better, all of them made the playoffs. Dig a little deeper, 5 of them reached the Super Bowl, and then peel off another layer. 2 won the Super Bowl, Indianapolis and New Orleans. Right now, Charles, Ben Roethlisberger has entered the MVP conversation for Pittsburgh.
And he should. I mean, if we're making the same argument for Russell Wilson, that he's never gotten a vote before despite continued excellence, he should be in it. 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The team's 9-0, and he's actually added to his game with these quick throws. The ball's out of his hand fast to some great targets downfield. But just when you start to press up on the receivers, he reminds you very quickly he still has the big arm and can throw it downfield.
Perfect record, yes. Mike Tomlin says we are not a perfect team right now, though, and the Steelers' ground game has hit a stumbling block of late, though they do enhance it with screens and jet sweeps the last 3 games. They certainly want to see that number improve. Defensively, they've been stellar, and part of their MO is the fact that they do it in such a timely manner when they need it.
You're exactly right about that, because they're not happy about their run defense over the last 3 games, but it hasn't affected their record because of plays like that. They get after you in the pocket. 4 sacks last week against Cincinnati, 36 on the year, and on 3rd down, they give up nothing now. 0 for 13 with Cincinnati trying to move the football.
Oh, meanwhile, for Jacksonville, this is the youngest team in the NFL. They are going with the rookie Jake Luton at quarterback for the 3rd consecutive week.
And Ian, he's very similar to Gardner Minshew in the fact that they were both 6th-round picks. Not much expected out of them, but both produced early. The first game for Jake Luton, 304 yards throwing the ball against Houston. He's very calm, he's very poised, and his team, they relax in his presence and play their best.
Let's get more on that. from Evan.
Yeah, and for Luton, there can be a lot more at stake in this game than just the result, because Gardner Minshew, the presumptive starter and one-time face of this offense, was back on the practice field, albeit in a very limited capacity for the first time in 3 weeks, and suffering the multiple fractures in his right throwing thumb. As for who will be the full-time starter when Minshew's back fully healthy, that's not a cut and dry decision, according to Doug Moreau in our conversation with him. He said it's going to be very much predicated off of what Luton does in this field. It's going to be week to week, fellas.
And Evan, we're not sure who'll be the full-time starting quarterback, but the full-time starting running back will be James Robinson. What a revelation coming out of Illinois State.
All right, time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
And what a decision they made in Pittsburgh to bring Robert Spillane on, now replacing Devin Bush. Big hit on Derrick Henry, pick 6 against Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. And a smart move by Jacksonville to sign Keelan Cole. He'll line up all over on offense, and what a great kick returner. The keys for the game: get ahead quick if you're Jacksonville, keep James Robinson's running in the game, and for Pittsburgh, rattle the rookie quarterback Jake Luton in the pocket.
It is the 27th all-time meeting between the Steelers and the Jaguars. Pittsburgh trying to make it a perfect 10-0 to start the season. We'll come back and get things started here in Jacksonville after this. On CBS brings us to Jacksonville. The Pittsburgh Steelers are rolling at 9-0. The Jaguars are 1-8. We'll have the opening kickoff next.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you to the sights and sounds of the game between the Titans and the Ravens. So let's get you out to Baltimore with our announcers, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
JB, we've got a big one here in Baltimore. There will be no fans, but plenty on the line in this crowded AFC playoff picture. This scenario here, it's vital for both teams at 6-3. Hello, friends. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. For the first time ever, a conference, NFC or AFC, in this case, our conference, the AFC, has 9 teams through Week 10 with at least 6 wins. 2 of them are going to be on the field today, Baltimore and Tennessee. So you get to the end of the year, Tony, this game could have so much to do. A tiebreaker on the line with the winner today. It's vital.
It's extremely vital, and I think you're going to find, now we have extra teams this year, so it is, the playoffs are a little different. 7 teams are getting in, but that last spot today has a really, really important time for home games, seeding, and really maybe one of these teams, it could come down to the wire in that 7th spot.
I'd like to get your thoughts on what Lamar Jackson has shown you so far this year. Coming off the MVP season, there are injury issues, there are off-season issues as far as training camps and things that were missed out on. What do you see?
Well, for a young quarterback, the off-season is huge. That's where you start to learn the game and you really develop some of those little things that you didn't quite do as well the year before. You practice them, you study them. But for him, he didn't have that. And they don't quite have the same ability, in certain spots. Some of their best players are out. So that's really what I've seen just take place. But they're going to get better. They got great coaching. He'll be fine.
Injury is a big story on both sides, but let's specifically talk about how this affects the Ravens. Tracy Wolfson on the sideline right now with more. Trace.
That's right, Jim. There are new faces and new places for these Baltimore Ravens. We're going to first start at the offensive line, where center Matt Skura will not start today. Patrick Macara will take over because Skura has been dealing with those snapping issues. And then in terms of injuries, their best blocking tight end, Nick Boyle, out for the season with a knee injury. That is huge on the offensive side of the ball. For the defensive side of the ball, they are without their 2 best run defenders in Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams. Certainly a bigger challenge going against Derrick Henry. And one other, no wide receiver, Dez Bryant, will be active for the 2nd time this season. If he plays, how much he plays remains to be seen, Jim.
All right, Tracy. If there's only someone in the building who knew how to get the football to Dez Bryant, I wonder who that could be. Let's get back to Derrick Henry, though. Great point by Tracy. Without Brandon Williams, without Calais Campbell, how do you stop this guy today if you're the Ravens?
Well, it's difficult for anybody. The number one thing is you got to get in the middle. We just talked about Williams is out, Campbell's out. That's the middle of the defense. This guy comes downhill. He's aggressive, and it wears on you as the game unfolds. Today, you've got to get him down early in this game, Jim. If he gets going early, you're behind. It's really hard to stop. But I think the Ravens have a great plan for it.
It was about a year ago at this time when Ryan Tannehill took over this team. This is his 20th start now as a Titan, and the things he's done, I think in a lot of respects, goes a little bit underrated and under-recognized.
Absolutely. Took him to the AFC title game last year, and he's doing it again. He's very efficient. He throws the ball well, play action. It utilizes his skill set perfectly. They're tough today. It's about the running game first, though.
Time for Home Depot, tools for success, and let's bring on a couple of targets we're going to see today. Brown and Snead. First, AJ.
Well, Brown is the big play threat. He's the guy in the play action game that they look to. He can catch it across the middle, get inside and take off and score touchdowns. The Ravens got to be wary of it. And then there's Snead, the utility guy, does a lot of stuff for this team. Dirty work. Catches balls that are contested, moves the chains. He's their utility guy, just like you, Jim.
Yeah, right. Here's your dirty work. Let's get your game point. Stay on schedule, you say, with the Titans. Avoid that Ravens blitz.
Avoid the blitz. They blitz over and over. Don't get the third down and give them a chance to get turnovers. Win the game on first down if you're the Titans.
And how about the Ravens? You say take some deep shots?
Yeah, but not really deep shots, right? Like, I mean outside the numbers. Throw an out route. Throw stuff that gets teams from the middle to extend out to the outside. And then the game gets easier for the stuff in the middle to run into.
Okay, again, a pair of 6-3 teams that met in the playoffs, the divisional round, at the beginning of this year. They're about to collide again in Maryland, coming up on CBS. Gray, overcast day, temperature in the 50s. Mike Vrabel and the Titans getting ready to challenge John Harbaugh and the Ravens. Two identical 6-3 records about to meet on CBS.
Dolphin quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, part of a Miami 5-game winning streak, with a chance to tie the idle Buffalo Bills for first place in the AFC East with a win. Welcome to Denver. CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, it's the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos. Happy holidays, everyone, with Trent Green, Kevin Harlan. Boy, the Dolphins, Trent, are on a roll.
Well, and when you consider going back a few weeks, the boldest move of the NFL season was when Miami Dolphin head coach Brian Flores decided, after a 2-game winning streak, to move to rookie Tua Tagovailoa, and all he's done is responded and won his first 3 starts. And when talking to offensive coordinator Chan Gailey this week, who was out of football for the last 3 years, he said the thing that he had to do as a play caller is to call plays for the talent that I have on the field. And the talent that he has in Tua Tagovailoa is a guy that protects the football. He does a good job of distributing the ball, uses his legs well. They move him around in the pocket, and as you can see, that's been rewarded. Now he's about to set an NFL record, 4 straight victories for a rookie.
The number 5 overall pick out of Alabama. On the Denver side, their quarterback Drew Lock started and was injured last week in Las Vegas against the Raiders. He was limited, Trent, in practice all week. What do you expect from him today? He will start.
Yes, he will get the start. He was very limited in practice, and he told us this week he hasn't had an experience like that where he hasn't had all the reps in practice and then transitioned to be the starter. He's dealt with injuries all season. He injured his shoulder in week 2, missed game 3 and 4. Now all of a sudden, after getting beat up last week, dealing with 3 ribs that were injured, he's going to make the start today. The offensive line has to protect him better, and Kevin, they need to run the football better today.
Miami looking for their best start in 19 years. Denver had won 3 of 4, but now they've lost 2 straight. The Dolphins, the Broncos, next on CBS.
This is SoFi Stadium in Southern California, the home today of the Los Angeles Chargers, who do not want to be the first to fall this season to the New York Jets. To that end, they get one of the great pass rushers in the league, Joey Bosa, back on the field in an attempt to snap a 3-game losing streak. And with that, we say hello and welcome, everyone. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Jay Feely will join us shortly. 3-game losing streak. Rich, the Jets have lost all 9, and the return of Joey Bosa doesn't do them any favors today.
Well, Greg, this defense just isn't the same without a healthy Joey Bosa in the lineup. They've gone 6 quarters now without a sack. Getting him back today should help fix that.
With Sam Darnold still dealing with a sore shoulder, veteran Joe Flacco will make his 4th start for the Jets. He played really well.
Yeah, I thought Flacco played against the Patriots his best performance of the season. And again, probably his best performance in the last 2 seasons. He was decisive and accurate, hitting on a number of big plays down the field. He needs another good outing today for the Jets to get their first win of the season.
And his opposite number, rookie Justin Herbert, despite a 1-7 record as a starter, has posted some very impressive numbers. The Chargers and the Jets, our kickoff from SoFi Stadium, coming your way here on CBS right after this.
The tradition began in Detroit in 1934. And it continues today, an empty Ford Field, but the nation is watching, as it always has. Welcome to CBS Sports NFL Thanksgiving game, presented by Verizon. It's the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions coming up here on CBS, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Thank you for allowing us in your homes. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. Tony, to you, to Candace, to Hawk, Rivers, Jonesy, the whole crew, it's great to be able to have this day with you. I know later it's all about being with our families, but I love sharing the day with you with football.
Well, thank you, Jim, and happy Thanksgiving to you. Courtney said we're going to go through all the names of everybody. Everybody out there, happy Thanksgiving to you. Everybody, the Richards family as well. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
It's great to be with you and with all of you again. The quarterbacks in this game, they're fired up. They know the records aren't what they wanted them to be, but Matthew Stafford and Deshaun Watson, by the way, playing for the first time on Thanksgiving Day, it's a big deal to him.
It is a big deal, and I know right now neither team got off to the kind of start you wanted this year, but they're sneakily playing better. The line's not great last week, but short week, they're ready to go.
And now let's do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot. JJ's played in this game 8 years ago, had one of his best performances ever.
Yeah, and he played great last week, too. He's one of the best at batting balls down, but I think he's starting to really come on this year, and you're going to see him play great the rest of the year.
From JJ to TJ, not his brother, but Hawkinson, the tight end who's gifted.
You're exactly right. He is gifted. Throw the ball to him a lot, use him in a lot of different situations. Stafford's outlet.
You say, Tony, can Watson keep playing great?
He can. He's taken a big-time step this year, and I expect him to continue that evolution. We'll talk about it today.
For the Lions, protect Stafford.
Protect Stafford. That's how you do it. Big plays come off of play action. They're going to do that a lot today.
And now, to honor America, here is 19-year-old Detroit native Caleb Carroll performing our national anthem.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Titans and the Colts. Let's send you out to Indianapolis with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JP, it's a divisional showdown at Lucas Oil Stadium. The Titans and the Colts are both 7-3 and coming off thrilling come-from-behind overtime victories last week. Today, the winner will take a big leap forward in the AFC South. The playoff picture. Everybody chasing Pittsburgh. Steelers remain undefeated. Indy and Tennessee currently the 4 and 5 seeds. Welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. Ian Eagle, along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn will join us as well. 2 weeks ago, these two teams played down in Nashville. Colts got the win. Phillip Rivers threw for 308 yards in that game. And CD, he has really stabilized the quarterback position for the Colts.
I would agree with that totally, and he is really locked in now because he joined the Colts understanding the coaching staff, knew the playbook, just needed to know the players, and they are all in now, and these guys were happy to embrace Phillip Rivers because of what he brings to them, his intellect, the leadership we see game in and game out, the fearlessness as he throws the football downfield for big plays, the passion. This man loves football, and of course, when you're in first place, it's fun too.
And Rivers will have a new center today. Pro Bowler Ryan Kelly out with a neck injury, so the rookie from Ball State, Danny Pinter, makes his first NFL start. And 3 key players are on the COVID reserve list for Indianapolis: running back Jonathan Taylor, defensive lineman DeForest Buckner, and Danico Autry. The Colts defense basically in the top 5 in every category. They have been one of the elite groups in the NFL.
They play hard, they run to the football, and one of their emphasis in the offseason, get more takeaways. And they had 4 last week against Green Bay, a season high. These guys swarm the football, they rake at it when you're a runner, and one of the biggest plays of the year in overtime popped it free and led to the game-winning field goal.
So that was overtime for Indianapolis, overtime for Tennessee as well last week, a gritty win over the Baltimore Ravens. This offense is so dynamic, and they have so many weapons to choose from.
So if you're the quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, you love what you have around you. You can throw it or hand it off to the leading rusher in the game, Derrick Henry, who pounds defenses. Throw it out to the perimeter to A.J. Brown. He is a bull when the ball's in his hands. How about Corey Davis? 3 games now this year, over 100 yards. And of course, their tight end, Jonnu Smith, is a touchdown machine.
For more on the Titans, let's go down to Evan.
Yeah, a huge win in Baltimore, but it came at a price. 2 key starters placed on IR this week. Do-it-all linebacker and leading tackler Jayon Brown suffered a severe elbow injury, out for the season. Ty Sembrilo, he's out. He was the second left tackle stepping in for Taylor Lewan. So the Titans are now on their 3rd left tackle of the season. But guys, it's an unbelievable story. David Questenberry will make his first career start after 8 seasons in the league. Determination personified for a player who lost 3 seasons early in his career battling cancer. Guys, awesome.
And Evan, remember his head coach Mike Vrabel told us this is not a lifetime achievement award. He's earned the right to be on this roster.
All right, time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
One of the smarter moves the Tennessee Titans made a few seasons ago was drafting Harold Landry, their best edge rusher. He's got to put pressure on Phillip Rivers. And for the Indianapolis Colts, the emergence of their rookie wide receiver Michael Pittman has been eye-opening. Over 100 yards the last time they played the Titans. Now for the keys. The Colts, they want to spread the wealth. Throw it around to a bunch of receivers, including Pittman. And for the Titans, play like Titans. Be physical from the first snap.
It is a battle in the AFC South. Should be a slugfest today in Indianapolis. 53rd all-time meeting. The Titans and the Colts coming up on CBS. It's the NFL on CBS, live from Indianapolis today. The Titans and the Colts, Week 12. Countdown to kickoff continues. We'll get it started next.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you to the sights and sounds of the game between the Raiders and the Falcons. So let's get you out to Atlanta with our announcers, Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Amanda Balionis.
Heavy weather expected here in Atlanta later today, but luckily we are inside for the Las Vegas Raiders and the Atlanta Falcons. Raiders quarterback Derek Carr has led his team to 4 wins in the last 6 games, which puts them in the AFC playoff picture in the final slot as of today. Happy holidays, everyone. With Trent Green and Amanda Balionis, Kevin Harlan, welcome to Georgia. Well, we just saw Derek Carr, Trent, and, here's a guy who's coming off one of his best games against Kansas City last week and what might be his best season as a pro.
Kevin, I agree in both those statements. He had an outstanding game a week ago against Kansas City, nearly pulled off the upset of the Chiefs. And then when you talk about the season that he's putting together, 19 touchdowns against just 3 interceptions, and he talked to us about how comfortable he is in the process. His 3rd year now in the Gruden offense. Yes, there have been challenges. He had to relocate his family to Vegas when the Raiders moved to Las Vegas. And then it's the COVID protocols and trying to get reps with players and trying to feel comfortable and get his players in a position to have success. But he just feels better with who he is as a player, and who helps that make you feel comfortable is having a weapon like Darren Waller, 6'6", 255 pounds, leads the team in receptions and receiving yards. And it's that size and speed that we're going to go green and look at what gives the Raiders such a big advantage, having a weapon like that. The first play, he's going to be in a tight bunch formation. He's going to act like he's going out to the flat, but then he runs a shoot, runs right by the safety, and Carr puts it on the money. That speed, that separation is a difference maker. This time it's a quick throw out to the outside, but he's going to be matched up on All-Pro Tyrann Mathieu. And watch the quickness that he uses to get the first down. It's that weapon that makes him the centerpiece of this offense.
For the Atlanta Falcons today, 2 significant injuries as both running back Todd Gurley and wide receiver Julio Jones are out. And Amanda, you know this. That's like going to the Masters without 2 important clubs in your bag.
Well, I wouldn't call it a bogey quite yet, Kevin, but this is going to be a challenge for the Falcons. That's right. In place of Todd Gurley, it's going to be Brian Hill. And Matt Ryan told us earlier in the week, Hill injects a ton of positive energy into this Falcons offense, not just on the field, but on the sidelines as well. In terms of Julio Jones, he was a game-time decision all week. They announced it officially. He's out at 11:30 this morning, so expect Matt Ryan to really target Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst even more so than usual. And Trent, you're a quarterback. You know this. Matt Ryan said we have to do a better job of just being better with the guys we have available. With these last-minute changes, though, what are the challenges if you're Matt Ryan?
Well, Amanda, as a quarterback, the one position on the field that is affected the most by not having reps is the quarterback, because of you want to get confidence in the plays you're having, the reps that you're getting at practice, the timing of when you hit that back foot, you're planning and firing the ball down the field before the receiver gets out of the cut, and that's what Matt Ryan hasn't been able to get. Really, a lot of quarterbacks around the league haven't been able to get. But when you look at the 8 sacks a week ago against New Orleans, some of that was because of the timing and him trying to wait on the receivers to get out of the cut.
All this serves as our backdrop for Do Project Smarter, Trent, presented by the Home Depot.
Well, let's start off with the Raiders, and the smart thing for the Raiders to do is to continue to feed the ball to Josh Jacobs. 9 touchdowns rushing on the season, establishing himself as one of the best young running backs in the NFL. And then the other side, Amanda just talked to us about a missing Julio Jones. So Calvin Ridley already leads the team in receptions and receiving yards. He'll have to pick it up even more today. And then additionally, for the Atlanta Falcons, it's pass protections. We just hit on the fact that Matt Ryan was sacked 8 times a week ago. They have to do a better job today. And for the Raiders, missed tackles, Kevin, have been killing them all season long.
Since the coaching change, the Falcons have won 3 of 5. The Raiders in the thick of the playoff race, but with little margin for error. The Raiders, the Falcons, on CBS. Atlanta, CBS Sports presents the National Football League. Today, it's the Las Vegas Raiders and the Atlanta Falcons.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Colts and the Texans. So let's get you out to Houston with our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Sherry Burris.
NRG Stadium, the home of the Houston Texans, and the site today of this Week 13 divisional matchup between the Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. Take a look at our quarterbacks for the day. 17 years in the NFL, his first with Indianapolis. That is the veteran Phillip Rivers. And on the other side, in his fourth season, Deshaun Watson hasn't thrown a pick in 6 straight games. He'll be heading up the Houston offense. The AFC South standings, take a look. The Colts trying to creep a game closer to the division-leading Tennessee Titans. The Texans trying to creep a game closer to second place Indy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Houston. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Sherry Burris will join us in just a few. These games in the rivalries, they're always fun games to watch, and this is a good one.
And Greg, I've always said the best month of regular season football is December because so much is at stake. You look where the Colts are. They're a game behind the Titans in the division, and of course the Texans, winners of 3 of the last 4, really have to win out to have a chance at the postseason.
For the Colts, at quarterback is Phillip Rivers. As we said, his 17th season, but his first as the Colts, and it's going pretty well.
Yeah, I think he's clearly a Hall of Fame quarterback when it's all said and done, but the big knock on him has been the lack of postseason success. He's actually failed to reach the playoffs in 4 of his last 5 seasons, and at 39 years of age, he is running out of time. But you can tell he feels a sense of urgency because he feels this team has a chance to do something special.
Now, at the start of this season, this Colts defense was top-notch. Not so much the last several games, but help is on the way today.
Yeah, they're coming off their worst performance of the season against the Titans, but statistically, they're still a top-5 defense, but they have really struggled the last 2 weeks. But today, they get back 2 of their best players, DeForest Buckner and Danico Autry, who didn't play last week. They are extremely productive inside versus the run and pass.
Now, for the NFL's Houston Texans, one of the NFL's top young guns at quarterback, Deshaun Watson. He's a terrific football player, but he needs some help today.
He does. He's an outstanding player. He's got a unique skill set at the quarterback position. He's been extremely accurate throwing the ball from the pocket. He's completing over 69% of his throws. He keeps defensive coordinators up at night worrying about his mobility. He can escape pressure and turn a broken play into a big play at any time. But as you said, Greg, he's going to be without his top target, Will Fuller, who was suspended earlier this week. They're very thin at wide receiver. They released Kenny Stills a couple weeks ago, Randall Cobb on IR with a toe injury. They're going to have to rely on some of these young wide receivers.
And what did Indy coach Frank Reich tell us on Friday? Not his wife, not any member of his family is thinking about J.J. Watt more this week than the Colts are.
One of the most disruptive defensive linemen in the league, and he is relentless in his pursuit of the football, especially if it's in the hands of the quarterback. Watt has 100 career sacks and more tackles for loss since the league started keeping track back in 2006.
All right, Rich, time for Do Project Smarter by The Home Depot.
Well, without Will Fuller, the Texans will rely on both backs in the passing game. You look at the Johnsons, Duke Johnson and David Johnson. David Johnson's very good out of the backfield for a bigger back. And, of course, Duke Johnson, one of the best receiving backs in all of football. T.Y. Hilton has been missing in action so far this season. Extremely quick, but quiet in terms of the production. And you look at the keys for the game. The Colts have to be extremely disciplined with their pass rush, keeping Watson in the pocket where he belongs. And the Texans are 31st in rushing offense, 31st in run defense. They need to do a better job overall when it comes to the run game on both sides of the ball.
The Texans looking for 3 in a row. The Colts looking for their 3rd win in their last 4. We will have it all for you from Houston as the NFL on CBS continues after this message and a word from your local station. Nothing better than when a big rival comes to town, and for the Houston Texans, none bigger in the AFC South than the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts and the Texans kickoff right around the corner here on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you to the sights and sounds of the game between the Browns and the Titans. So let's send you out to Nashville with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, one of the premier matchups of Week 13 and a major test for the much-improved Cleveland Browns today. They meet the leaders of the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. It's the two best rushing attacks in the NFL. League leader Derrick Henry has been unstoppable. 3 touchdowns last week. And Nick Chubb, a big play machine for Cleveland. He has put himself into the elite category at his position. The playoff picture, Titans currently the 3 seed in the AFC, the Browns the 5 seed, Pittsburgh, of course, leading the way at 11-0. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn joins us momentarily. The Tennessee Titans have been on a scoring spree of late, and you look at their offense, it's a highly effective scheme, Charles, and they have a very creative play caller in Arthur Smith.
They definitely have that, and get to know him, World, because he is emerging in a big way because he understands the weapons he has at his disposal, but he also understands how to use them to the most effective way possible. And look at this. He's very spirited in his play calling. Find a guy out in the perimeter, get it to him to open the field as he did with A.J. Brown. He's also inspired. Put your tight end in motion, bring him back, and hand it to him for a jet sweep for a touchdown. And then, of course, when you have number 22, Derrick Henry, you call plays with authority. And that's exactly what he does. Get the ball to the big man.
And CD, the Titans' depth has played a big role in their success. Last week against the Colts, David Quesenberry at left tackle, David Long Jr. inside linebacker, Breon Borders at cornerback, all delivered for Mike Vrabel in a lopsided win. As for the Cleveland Browns, this is meaningful December football. This is a big step for the Browns. They're trying to break that 18-year playoff drought. And you look at how this team is set up. It is the run game that sets the tone.
It certainly does. No different than with Tennessee, except they do it with 2 guys, but their main runner is Nick Chubb. He missed 4 games during the season, and the rushing attack fell off a little bit. But when he's around, they're as high-powered as anyone. And he runs the ball with authority, with vision, and the ability to break big runs as well.
And it's the 1-2 punch, of course, with Kareem Hunt. But without Nick Chubb in the lineup, the numbers are pedestrian. You put him on the field for Cleveland, it's a different story. They're averaging 199 games on the ground. Let's get more on the Browns from Evan Washburn.
Yeah, Ian, on the other side of the ball, a welcome sight for the Browns. The return of Myles Garrett, who missed the last 2 games after testing positive for COVID-19 on November 20th. And he was not one of the fortunate ones to be asymptomatic. We spoke with him last night, and he was candid. He had all the symptoms, and they were significant. He described it as a humbling experience, but thankfully he's symptom-free and will not be limited in this game, according to Garrett. As he put it, he's not planning on making just a cameo appearance in this one, guys.
All right, I have time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
And one of the smart things that the Cleveland Browns did, they decided to be a running team, but they're not doing it with just one runner. The second runner is Kareem Hunt, who one time led the NFL in rushing with Kansas City. And for Tennessee, Jeffrey Simmons is their first-round pick from last year. He is living up to that status. Our keys for the game, the Tennessee Titans, they do run on Diesel, and that Diesel is Derrick Henry. And for Cleveland, they need a game out of their quarterback that they need in a big way. They need big game Baker Mayfield to show up.
It is 8-3 against 8-3. Cleveland looking for respect. Tennessee trying to cement itself in the AFC playoff race. All the action coming up from Nashville. The Browns and the Titans will get things started after this on CBS. Week 13 in the NFL, and it's the 68th all-time meeting between the Browns and the Titans. We'll have the opening kickoff from Music City when we return.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you to the sights and sounds of the game between the Broncos and the Panthers. So let's get you out to Charlotte with our announcers, Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, and Sherry Burris.
JB, thank you. On a mild December day in Charlotte, we've got a rematch of Super Bowl 50 as Denver takes on Carolina. And hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast booth, along with the Hall of Famer James Lofton. I'm Andrew Catalon. We'll hear from Sherry Burris coming up. Both quarterbacks in this game trying to establish themselves as the long-term solution for their respective teams. Let's start with Carolina. How would you evaluate Teddy Bridgewater this year?
You got to remember, Teddy Bridgewater is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the National Football League this year. 72% completion. That is really, really impressive, especially when you're tackling a new offense. And the thing that I love about Teddy Bridgewater coming back from that horrific injury when he was with the Minnesota Vikings is he is still young. He's 28 years old. We forget that great arm, and he also has legs. He's already had 3 rushing touchdowns so far this season.
He will not have receiver DJ Moore today. He's on the reserve COVID list. So Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel figure to see plenty of targets.
You know, and they're going to see those targets, Andrew. Like you mentioned at the top, a 70-degree day. You give me a 70-degree day in December when I was playing, I'd have gone for 200 yards easily.
Didn't get many of those in Buffalo or Green Bay. Shaq Thompson and Derek Brown missed practice time this week on the reserve COVID list. They are both active today. One man who's been very active on the Carolina defense this year, the rookie, Jeremy Chin.
We have all seen the splash plays. We've seen the interception. We saw the 2 fumble recovery returns for a touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings. But what you see when you really watch the Carolina Panthers defense, this young man jumps out at you. When he hits somebody, Andrew, they stay hit and they go down.
For Denver, quarterback Drew Lock has more interceptions than touchdown passes this year. How does he balance his aggressive nature with limiting the turnovers?
It really is hard to be aggressive and to take care of the football, but that's exactly what Drew Lock has to learn to do, because I think as you watch this team play, they're putting talent around him. Drew Lock has to be a better decision maker. He's a good dancer, though.
The big pregame news for Denver, left tackle Garrett Bowles is out today because of an illness, so Calvin Anderson is expected to get the start.
And when you thought you had all the problems sewed up, here comes another one. But they've run the ball well the last couple of weeks. Mike Munchak, their Hall of Fame offensive line coach, will find a way to get this line to perform.
The Broncos have the second best red zone defense in the NFL. Kansas City was 0 for 4 last week.
And when you talk about building momentum during the course of a game, you love what they did last week. You want it to carry over into the next week, and Denver will be excited to see if they can perform as well as they did last week.
Time now for Do Project Smarter. It's presented by the Home Depot.
Well, when you go down that running back aisle at the Home Depot, you can get any type of running back you want. You get an inside power back like Mike Davis. He's never met a defender that he's not afraid to try and run over. But how about running around somebody and running real past them? Melvin Flash Gordon, last week a 65-yard run against the Kansas City Chiefs. He was at his best. But for the Denver Broncos, the key to this ballgame is to hold on to the football. Takeaway giveaways, minus 17, worst in the NFL. Carolina, let's take some risks. You can get some big rewards when you throw deep.
No Christian McCaffrey today. We'll have more on him coming up. Just the 6th regular season meeting between these two teams. Denver and Carolina coming up next. It's week 14 of the NFL on CBS. moments away from kickoff between Matt Rule's Panthers and Vic Fangio's Broncos. It's week 14 of the NFL on CBS. Kickoff is coming up.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Chiefs and the Dolphins. So let's get you out to Miami with our announcers, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
JB, it's a gorgeous day in South Florida. Kansas City and Miami coming up next here on CBS. Hello, friends, and happy holidays. Jim Nance along with Tony Romo and Tracy Wolfson. The AFC playoff picture, it's wild and it's wide open. The Chiefs have already clinched a playoff berth, can clinch the division with a win today. Miami right now currently in the 6th spot at 8-4. And Tony, this Miami team is one of the great turnaround stories. You started to see it at the end of last year, winning 5 of their last 9 games. But pretty impressive what they've done.
It's very impressive. I feel like Flores, the head coach coming in, changing the culture, and then allocating the resources this offseason, you're really seeing a great program being put in place. And I'll tell you, they're really good. I do think today's the one that we want to see, though, right? Because you're going against the champs, and these guys are obviously really good. How good are the Miami Dolphins? I think we're going to find out today.
They've been led in large part by their defense, but that defense today is going to face the guy that also is going to help you measure just how good you are. Patrick Mahomes, just sensational yet again. Back to the field, by the way, where he won Super Bowl MVP 10 months ago.
Exactly. We're running out of superlatives, really, for him. I mean, he's in rare air right now. He's playing at a level that I've only seen quarterbacks play at a few times during their career. And you don't know if this guy's able to just do it year in, year out. But it's special to be that aggressive and not make mistakes.
Well, he's got a couple of guys that he loves to target. They're already each over 1,000 yards on the season. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. They're just game breakers, these two.
They are. And we keep using the word quintessential game breakers, Jim.
What does that mean?
I'm not sure. But these guys are special because you have to allocate so many guys to guard them on every play. Either one can beat you. I mean, 2 guys over 1,000 yards already at this point. Situationally, you got to guard Kelce, but you can't let Tyreek Hill wreck the game, especially early. Guard them both, double team them, make someone else win.
I know you're looking forward to seeing for the first time Tua in person. This will be his 6th start. He's done some very impressive things so far.
Yeah, he's done a great job protecting the football. It's winning football. You know, as a quarterback, that's like your number 1 job, especially when you have the number 2 scoring defense. You can win a lot of games just by not giving the other team the ball. And he's done a great job starting off his career. And I'm seeing him learn every game. He's getting smarter. He's getting quicker with the release. He trusts it a little more. So we'll see if it keeps developing that way.
And you just tipped our hand a little bit about that defense of Miami. Now they're going to miss a couple of key players today, but all season long, what Josh Boyer's team has done has really led them to 8 victories.
This was the point of emphasis, allocating the resources in the offseason, and you're seeing it. They're number 2 in the NFL, like we touched on, but they blitz. They get after the opposing team's quarterback over and over again. And then you got guys on the outside who can cover. Howard, 4 straight games to interception. This guy's playing as well as anybody in the secondary in the league.
They're going to be without Van Noy and Roberts. Tracy will have more on that in just a moment, but let's do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
Well, you want to be smart, get Chris Jones on your defense. He's disruptive. He's all over the place. The number 1 job by the offensive line, know where he is on every play.
And then you've got Agba of Miami,
who's been playing outstanding, coming over from Kansas City in the offseason. This guy right here is the Chris Jones of this Dolphins defense.
Here are your game points, Tony. The Chiefs trying to take advantage of Tua, and 3 rookies that'll start on the offensive line for the Dolphins.
And they have a way of doing it. Steve Spagnuolo knows how to make it look cloudy for quarterbacks. He's been doing it for years. He's going to get a lot of people up there, make it look really tough for Tua. He's going to have to throw into man coverages on the outside under duress.
Well, this Miami defense will have to make some decisions about playing man coverage.
You don't want to against Tyreek and this team, right? But that's who they are. They're man and they blitz. It's like something's got to give here today.
Well, it's going to be a good one. And we look forward to bringing it to you. Kansas City and Miami. Week 14 continues in a moment on CBS. 42nd year Andy Reid has been on the sideline, 5th winningest coach in the history of the league. Taking on the upstart Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores doing a great job in his 2nd year. Chiefs, Dolphins next, CBS.
This is Lumen Field, the home of the Seattle Seahawks, who are in a fight with the Rams for the top spot in the NFC West. Today, they have a very hungry New York Jets team in town. Russell Wilson is the unquestioned leader of the Seattle offense, as dangerous with his feet as he is with his arm. Quarterbacking the defense, the ex-New York Jet Jamal Adams, as talented a defensive back as you will find anywhere in the National Football League. And with that, we say hello and welcome, everyone, to Seattle, Washington. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Jay Feely will join us in a few. We mentioned quarterback Russell Wilson. Not as effective the last month as he was the first 2 months of this season, but he's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's good, Greg. And at 8-4, it's that time of the year where the Seahawks make their annual playoff push. But in order to accomplish that, Russell Wilson has to take better care of the football, and the offensive line has to protect him better. He's already been sacked 40 times, 3rd most in the league this season.
Now, the New York Jets, 0 for 2020. And as if looking for win number 1 of the season wasn't enough, they had to deal with a coaching shakeup this week.
Yeah, after a devastating loss, the winless Jets made a change with their defensive coordinator. I'm really anxious to see not just how the defense, but the entire team responds to this latest bout of adversity.
The Seahawks need a win to climb into a tie for the lead in the NFC West. The Jets need a win. Back to Seattle for the opening kick here on CBS after this.
Week 14 continues here in Las Vegas, where the Raiders make their push towards the playoffs.
Wide open is Ruggs for the touchdown.
But today, they face an old foe.
What a day for Rivers.
On a new team with similar aspirations. Colts, Raiders, next. It's the 14th Sunday of the season, and the NFL on CBS joins you from Allegiant Stadium. A matchup with major playoff implications in the AFC. Frank Reich and the Colts have won 3 straight on the road. Today's challenge, John Gruden and the Raiders, currently on the outside looking in for a spot in the postseason. And welcome inside the broadcast booth. Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn joins us as well. Final quarter of the season, and the pressure mounts around the NFL. Right now, Las Vegas is living life on the edge a bit. Last week, another last-second victory for the Raiders led by Derek Carr.
And they took it and ran with it, and Derek Carr has some urgency to get back to the playoffs and play this time. Hurt the last time. He loves to win the game post-snap. Read the defense on the move, manipulate the pocket, and find tight end Darren Waller downfield. When you talk about Phillip Rivers with the Colts, he's seen everything, so it's pre-snap for him. He'll identify the defense and win from the pocket. And star receiver T.Y. Hilton, he's been heating up lately.
Opening kickoff is coming up from Las Vegas. The Raiders hosting the Colts, and the push for the playoffs around the NFL. We'll get it started right after this.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
Welcome back to the NFL Today, and now Amazon takes you to the sights and sounds of the game between the Patriots and the Dolphins. Let's get you out to Miami with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
Nate, down to the final 3 weeks of the NFL regular season. We join you today from Miami Gardens for a divisional battle between the Patriots and Dolphins. Rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa trying to lead his squad to the postseason. What will Bill Belichick have up his sleeve this afternoon? The current playoff picture. Buffalo has clinched the AFC East. The Dolphins in position to make a possible push. The Patriots will require some help. Hi, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn joins us from downstairs. Simply put, if Miami wins its final 3 games of the regular season, they're in. Quite a turnaround from 1 year ago, and a lot of credit given to a young group with a quarterback that is growing into the position.
He was supposed to be growing into the position as they got better this year, not necessarily making a playoff push. But he's done quite well since inserted into the lineup, and this is why he's been successful. He's been mentored. Ryan Fitzpatrick's in his ear each and every day. He's been protected. He's got 2 offensive tackles and offensive guard drafted this year that are starting for him. He's been defended. This is a defense that's number 2 in the league in scoring defense, number 1 in takeaways. And last but not least, winning culture from Alabama and what they started here last season.
More on the Dolphins. Let's get the burn from Evan.
Well, Lion, despite some last-minute optimism, Tua and this Dolphins offense will be without their top 4 playmakers in this game. Mike Gesicki, Devontae Parker, and Jakeem Grant all suffered injuries last Sunday. They are out. Myles Gaskin remains on the COVID IR list. Guys, these 4 combined for a little over 50% of the total scrimmage yards and 13 touchdowns. And we spoke to Brian Flores. He said, this is a reality they plan for throughout the week, but no doubt a big challenge in this game.
Yeah, and also remember, he told us, if you wouldn't be here if we didn't think you could play, to the backups.
Well, Flores' last team that he coached, the New England Patriots, of course, and what a job he's done with Miami. Bill Belichick running this Patriot squad, and we are seeing things that we just haven't seen before in 20 years. NFL record division title streak snapped at 11. NFL record consecutive 10 or more win season streak snapped at 17. 19 consecutive seasons with a winning record. That is in jeopardy. Belichick, though, going against a rookie quarterback today, Charles.
And in this organization, they feast on rookie quarterbacks. And why? They're usually the better team. And veteran teams that compete for Super Bowls have a lot of pride in not letting youngsters beat them. Over the years, Bill Belichick has not let that happen with this Patriots organization. 20-5, 9 straight wins. And just a couple weeks ago, they shut out the hot Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers.
But for New England, passing game has been nearly non-existent the last 3 weeks for Cam Newton.
They've been trying to move the ball through the air. They haven't had much success doing it. They're going to need to get that done today.
And the Pats will not have their running back, Damian Harris. He is out with so Sony Michel expected to pick up the slack. Time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
One of the smart things the Patriots front office did a couple seasons ago was they signed this undrafted free agent out of North Carolina State, Jacoby Myers. He's now their leading receiver, the former quarterback turned receiver. And for Miami, Kyle Van Noy, the former Patriot, 3 sacks against Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. Now for the keys to the game for the Dolphins. Stay alert. New England could do anything with a lot of gadgets and tricks in this one. And if you're the Patriots, just like the first game, run the clock, take care of the football.
Yeah, they won that first matchup back in week 1, dominated on the ground against this Dolphins D. A lot has changed since then. The 111th all-time meeting, the Patriots and the Dolphins countdown to kickoff continues here on CBS. It's the NFL on CBS from Hard Rock Stadium. Longtime rivals going head-to-head. The Dolphins hosting the Patriots. We'll get it started next.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Colts and the Steelers. So let's send you out to Pittsburgh with our announcers, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson.
JB, thank you. Here we go, folks. It's a big one. Colts and Steelers coming up from the Steel City. It's in the 30s. We'll warm up into the low 40s by the second half. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz along with Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson. Yes, we got a lot on the line on each side. For the Colts, here they are 10-4. They're not in. They need a win today, plus a Baltimore loss. Meanwhile, the Steelers, a victory gives them the division. They'd also get the division if they lost, but Cleveland lost at the same time. So all kinds of things to sort out. I do know this. I'm going to be watching very closely with my man Tony Romo. This one is one we're going to find out a lot about the Steelers because they have been down, losing 3 in a row.
Yes, and any team that goes 11-0, you expect like perfection, right? Everyone's 16-0, you're going to go do it. But there are hiccups. That's why there's not very many teams who go 16-0, and they're in that little lull, right? Little injuries happen. Teams kind of catch up to you scheme-wise. All of a sudden, a guy that's at a key position is banged up. But I think you're going to see them kind of come back to who they were earlier in the year.
Well, of course, everybody's been talking about the play of Ben Roethlisberger. Reports surfacing today that Ben hyperextended his knee before the first loss of the season, the game against Washington, and that might account for why he's been subpar here the last 3 weeks, Tony.
Absolutely. It's something to watch for today because if he's not able to move and extend the plays, which he hasn't been doing a lot of lately, especially in the last 3 games, I think they're going to need that in the playoffs. Ben Roethlisberger is going to have to, at some point, put this team on his back like he can to get them through a big game in a clutch situation.
Well, T.J. Watt and this Pittsburgh defense can also dictate how this game's going to go because, again, they do it like they do every year, it seems, leading the league in sacks and in other categories.
And this is the time of year, right? It's playoff football kind of, it's December, it's tough, physical, impose your will, Steeler Nation. That's what you really want to see if you're a Steeler fan, and they got the guys to do it, and it starts right there. T.J. Watt, as good in the NFL at creating pressure, also equally as good in the run game. It'll be tough today, though, to stop him through the Colts.
Yeah, he would like to have his time right in the face of Phillip Rivers if he gets his way today, because Phillip will be without his starting tackles in this game, but Rivers has been on a great run here the last 3 weeks, leading them to victories.
He really has, and I see basically just the entire, without an offseason, he's really developed a rapport with these wide receivers, the weapons, tight ends, and I think that shows you his ability to get the ball out so quickly. He knows these guys, but it's going to be hard today, Jim. Why? Tell us.
Well, because you got no Costanzo, no Smith. That means Holden and Green are the starters at tackles. And this is an offensive line. You've been impressed by what they've been able to do when they've been healthy this year, Tony.
They've been great. I mean, really, when you look at it, it's a very underrated football team. There's not a lot of weaknesses. Hey, let's pass pro 5-on-5. We'll help out with one guy. But everyone really does a great job of giving time. And then Rivers is getting through stuff very quickly. And then the run game. No one runs the wham play as good as this team. Let's come downhill, tight end. You take the defensive tackle, and every lineman with great footwork, they get through it. Now, the problem is, I'm not sure they can do that today without those 2 tackles, but we're going to find out very quickly against a very formidable front.
Tony, let's do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot, to Forrest Buckner, the AFC Defensive Player of the Week last week.
He's outstanding. What a great pickup in the offseason. Should have been a Pro Bowl this year. Huge snub.
And Juju's personality just embodies, really, the spirit of this Steeler team.
He really is tough, physical. I mean, and he's a wide receiver. You think he's like a prima donna? No, he's tough. He's physical. The kind of player you like.
Taylor has been on a run, running the football for the Colts. Can he do it against the Pitt front 7?
We're going to find out. Tough without the tackles, but if the Colts are going anywhere, they're going through Taylor every bit as much as Rivers. This kid's for real.
And can Ben go deep? That's been missing.
That's what I described earlier. Ben Roethlisberger, they had great short intermediate passing early in the year. They got to get the ball down the field and start adjusting the way teams are playing.
It's a good one. What a matchup we have. Frank Reich and the Colts coming in and take on Mike Tomlin's Steelers. And we'll have it for you. Kickoff Week 16 coming up on CBS. It's a huge Week 16 matchup. Frank Reich and the Colts taking on Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's coming your way next on CBS.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you out to the sights and sounds of the game between the Bears and the Jaguars. So let's take you out to Jacksonville with our announcers, Greg Gumbel, Rich Gannon, and Jay Feely.
Welcome to TIAA Bank Field. The playoff hopes of the homestanding Jacksonville Jaguars were dashed long ago, but playoff hope is alive and well for the visiting Chicago Bears. Quarterback Mitchell Trubisky is back in the starter's role for a Chicago team that can see a playoff light at the end of the tunnel. The NFC playoff picture. Arizona's loss to the 49ers yesterday gives the Bears control as they chase the third and final wildcard spot in the NFC. And with that, we say hello, everyone, and welcome to Jacksonville. Along with Rich Gannon, I'm Greg Gumbel. Jay Feely is with us as well. Chicago can claim that playoff spot with a win today and a win next week, or win one of those two games and Arizona loses again next week. Either way, Mitchell Trubisky is the guy in charge for Chicago.
Yeah, and it's been a challenging year for the Bears, Greg, and for their fourth-year signal caller, Mitchell Trubisky, who beat out Nick Foles in training camp to earn the starting job, only to lose it after a 3-0 start. He had to sit for a while, but he has bounced back and played pretty well the last 3 weeks. Now he has actually benefited from an improved running game, which has helped set up the play action and boot game, which he is very good at.
Yeah, it's some benefit, too. Trubisky has helped first-year running back David Montgomery is having a fine year.
Yeah, he's coming off back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, including a career-high 146 last week in the win over Minnesota. And today he faces the 30th-ranked run defense. Jacksonville's given up almost 150 yards a game on the ground. He should have a very busy day carrying the ball.
And, Rich, every team, when assessing the Bear defense, starts with Khalil Mack.
Yeah, they've got some great pass rushers, but none better than Khalil Mack, who has 8 sacks so far this season. He's actually just one of 2 players with 8 or more sacks in each of the past 6 seasons, the other being Aaron Donald. He can ruin a game plan if you allow him.
For Jacksonville, a lost season, no question about it. 1-13 with 2 games left on the schedule. They turn the ball over today to the veteran Mike Glennon.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week for these Jacksonville quarterbacks. They come in on Monday and Tuesday, and Mike Glennon told us he really felt like Gardner Minshew was going to start, only to find out on Wednesday that there would be a competition between the 2 quarterbacks where they would split reps during the week, and a determination will be made at the end of the week. As it turned out, Glennon didn't find out until Saturday morning that he was starting. The coaches feel that he throws the ball better down the field and that he gives them the best chance to win today against the Bears. And now what's at stake? The Jags hold the tiebreaker with the Jets for that #1 pick. And you have to think that they have their sights set on Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence.
All right, Rich, time for Do Project Smarter by The Home Depot.
Well, with James Robinson out with the ankle injury, look for both Divine Ozigbo and Dare Ogunbowale to get plenty of touches in both the running and passing game. And Jacksonville would be smart to double cover former Jaguar Allen Robinson whenever possible, as this is his 2nd straight season with 90 receptions and 1,100 receiving yards. And now for the keys to the game. The Bears need to jump up on the Jags early and not let them hang around. And Jacksonville needs to put up a fight versus the Bears. Let's see this team play with some passion to finish out their season.
Couple questions for you. Can Chicago push the Jacksonville Jaguars to a 14th consecutive loss? Can the Bears focus on the playoff prize that is absolutely theirs for the taking? We'll find out. We continue from Jacksonville here on CBS after this message and a word from your local station. Chicago Bears head coach Matt Nagy, his team has won 2 straight and want to keep it on a roll as this regular season winds down. We'll come back to Jacksonville for the kickoff in just a moment.
16 in the NFL, and we welcome you to Landover, Maryland. Today, a crucial matchup for the Washington football team as they host the Carolina Panthers. This afternoon, a Ron Rivera reunion as he faces the team he coached for 9 years. What's at stake for Washington? A win, and they are champions of the NFC East. Hi, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn joins us from downstairs. It's been a rather eventful week here in D.C. Washington was hoping to have its starting quarterback, Alex Smith, back in his normal role, but the calf injury has left him inactive. So Dwayne Haskins, who's been in the news this week, and we'll have more on that coming up, gets the start once again, CD.
And the news hasn't been positive for Dwayne Haskins, but in order for him to turn it, lead his team to that NFC East title and play well. For Carolina, their head coach Matt Rule, he's built programs at Temple and Baylor, trying to resurrect this Carolina Panthers team now. A win would validate the process.
Coming up, we will kick it off from FedEx Field. Panthers trying to spoil the party today. A win for Washington, and they're in the postseason. All the action coming up on CBS.
Above SoFi Stadium on a 60-degree winter day here in the City of Angels, and down below this gleaming new football palace is this site for a Week 16 battle between two old friends, the LA Chargers and the Denver Broncos. Hi, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. So great to be with you here from LA alongside Adam Archuleta. I'm Spiro Ditas. We will hear from Amanda Balionis in just a couple of minutes. Arch, a lost season in so many different ways for these two franchises, but for the Chargers, the good news for them is that they feel like they have their franchise quarterback in the rookie Justin Herbert.
Well, listen, in Week 16 of a 5-win season, there is not a lot to be happy about. But if you're a Charger fan, Justin Herbert gives you a big reason to smile. Spiro, he is closing in on almost 4,000 yards passing, 27 touchdowns. He's shown a little bit of everything. Great instincts, great feel. He's got a live arm who's not afraid to throw the ball downfield. And last week against the Raiders, was under pressure almost the entire game, had 314 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and had a great overtime with the go-ahead touchdown win on the quarterback sneak. But on the other side, if we're talking about Drew Lock, more of an enigma here for Broncos fans. In the last 2 weeks has been a microcosm, Spiro, of his season. He had a career game against Carolina. 4 touchdown passes, but rebounded with a career low last week, 132 yards in a brutal game against the Bills. He's got to be more consistent.
Two teams bringing up the rear in the AFC West, looking for some positivity here late in the season. Chargers, Broncos set to do battle next on CBS.
We hit the home stretch of this NFL season. There is plenty of Week 17 intrigue here at NRG Stadium as the Tennessee Titans meet the Houston Texans. Tennessee is in the playoffs. The best thing for them today, a win over Houston, which would give the Titans the AFC South and a first-round home game in the postseason. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Houston. Happy New Year to you and yours from all of us. Greg Gumbel along with Rich Gannon. Pretty cut and dried scenario for the Tennessee Titans, isn't it?
Yeah, Greg, but still a lot at stake. And you look at the Titans, all they have to do is they win and they host the Ravens next week in Nashville. If they lose, they're most likely on the road at Buffalo. That won't be easy. But let's look at how they're going to have to get it done. And it always starts with Derrick Henry. He's their bell cow, and they got to be able to hand the football to the league's leading rusher, who has run for over 200 yards in each of the past 2 games versus the Texans. As for Houston, it's been a disappointing season, but they'd like nothing more than to head into the offseason knocking off a division rival. Look for Deshaun Watson to once again have a big day against this Tennessee defense. Despite their 4-11 record, he's actually had an MVP-type season.
Also with us today, downstairs, Amanda Balionis. Amanda.
Thanks, Greg. Mike Vrabel doesn't believe in motivational speeches, but he does believe in giving his team the truth. And the truth he told them this week was that last last week was a huge missed opportunity. He said second chances rarely come in the NFL. Third chances never come. So take advantage of this second chance and lock down the AFC South for the first time since 2008.
All right, Amanda, thank you. Coin toss has happened. Houston won it, and they want the football. They will receive. Kind of a pretty day here in Houston, isn't it?
It's a beautiful day. I'm glad they've got the roof open. And, you know, these are two teams, Greg, that are very familiar with one another, divisional opponents. You say, well, what's at stake for the Houston Texans? There's a lot at stake. It's a divisional game. It's a chance to finish the regular season with some confidence, with some swagger. Head into the offseason program, I think, feeling pretty good about the future of this organization.
Dontrell Hilliard is deep for the Houston Texans, and we are underway.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you to the sights and sounds of the game between the Steelers and the Browns. Let's send you out to Cleveland with our announcers, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn.
JB, it's been 18 years since the Cleveland Browns have been in the playoffs. They can put an end to that drought today. A Week 17 matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The playoff picture. The Steelers are the champions of the AFC North. They will host a game next week. As for the Browns, that postseason berth is still there for the taking. Mike Tomlin made the decision to sit some frontline starters today, including quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. And in his first year as a head coach, Kevin Stefanski has his team in position to punch their ticket. Cleveland clinches a wild card berth with a win. Pittsburgh will either be the number 2 or 3 seed. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the broadcast booth. Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Evan Washburn will join us from downstairs. It has been a very unique 2020 regular season. It comes to a close today, and we know how much this would mean to the players, to the organization, and to the fans in the city of Cleveland. It's been a long time for the Browns franchise.
It would mean everything to them. As one Browns fan told me, if they win this game, it trumps every holiday gift I've got for the last 18 years.
Well, a lot of moving pieces for the Browns this week. With more on that, let's check in with Evan.
Yeah, in the last 8 days for the Browns have been turbulent, to say the least, as COVID-19 has made its presence felt. This is how it stands as we get ready for this one. 6 players and 3 coaches are out due to COVID protocols. Defensively, 3 starters. And the last name on that list, Kevin Johnson, was supposed to start for Denzel Ward, but he went on the list yesterday. And due to the rolling nature of the positive test results, the Browns were kept out of their building and off the practice field for most of the week. Only Wednesday afternoon and Friday were they able to practice. But guys, everybody we spoke to was adamant that it will not affect their readiness for this game. We'll see on the field this afternoon.
And Kevin Stefanski knows that offensively they have to be a lot better than they were the last time these two teams met. They couldn't get anything done against Pittsburgh in the first meeting.
All year long, they've tried to create an identity of being a tough, physical, running football team. They need to get back to that. And what we saw last week against the Jets, that wasn't it. But when they're at their best, they create an alley for runners like Nick Chubb to find and sprint into the secondary. Look at that offensive line. And now he's got room to run. What they also want to do is open up the field. They'll use a screen game to great advantage, often with running back Kareem Hunt here against Tennessee. And then when the defense comes forward, they throw it over the top. They'll top it off. Baker Mayfield looking for a target downfield. In this case, Donovan Peoples-Jones against Tennessee.
The Steelers are in position to spoil the celebration here in Cleveland, but 9 players are out today for a variety of reasons. Coach's decision, COVID reserve list, and injuries. Mason Rudolph, who started 8 games last season at QB, he gets the nod.
And they expect him to play well, even though he's the backup quarterback. They'll use the quick game, but don't be surprised if they block it up and throw it downfield a few times as well. And also expect to see backup Joshua Dobbs. They'll put him in for his mobility.
Time for us to do Project Smarter, presented by the Home Depot.
Well, if I'm coaching a football team, a smart decision is to have Vince Williams in the lineup against a running football team. He's an excellent tackler from the inside linebacker position. And for Cleveland, Baker Mayfield has really elevated since their loss at Pittsburgh in Week 6. He is on fire throwing the football. The keys to the game for the Browns, it's a huge game. They have to embrace the challenge, relax, and enjoy it. And for Pittsburgh, the standard. They still expect to win this game.
0-16 just 3 years ago. The Cleveland Browns today with a chance to complete the turnaround. Steelers, Browns, Week 17. Kickoff is coming up on CBS. The NFL on CBS is live from Cleveland, Ohio. Today, the Browns host the Pittsburgh Steelers with a chance for Cleveland to go to the playoffs. The kickoff is next.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
And welcome back to the NFL Today. And now Amazon takes you to the sights and sounds of the game between the Jets and the Patriots. Let's get you out to Foxborough with our announcers, Tom McCarthy and Jay Feely.
Strange times here at Foxborough. For the first time since 2008, the New England Patriots are not preparing to go to the postseason. Today, they wrap up the year against the Jets. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy along with Jay Feely. It is weird here in New England right now. We knew last week, obviously, that they would finish under 500. We knew several weeks ago they wouldn't make it to the postseason, but it is still strange.
Well, this is a very proud franchise, the model franchise for the last 20 years. They've been to 9 Super Bowls under Bill Belichick, won 6 of them. You know, it's something that you build around. You expect them to be in the postseason. I did the Tennessee game here last year. Very different.
A lot of the football teams this year with some opt-outs. They had 8 players opt out, though, for the 2020 season, but they began 2-1. There was optimism that the RPO with Cam Newton could work, but they became one-dimensional. 5th in the league in rushing, and for Bill Belichick, the first time missing the postseason since 2008, only his 2nd losing season.
Well, he's such a great coach, maybe the greatest coach of all time. You expect him to come up with a scheme, to do something to elevate his players despite not having the personnel and find ways to win, but it's been a struggle this year.
All right, so it starts this offseason with the quarterback. Is Cam Newton coming back?
Yeah, and that's where the struggles have really been. They've run the ball well, but they have not thrown the ball. You can see last week against Buffalo, 5 for 10 for 34 yards. Just hasn't been good enough. They haven't had balance. They haven't been able to push the ball down the field. And Cam Newton has done everything he could to try and understand this new system and to try and be a leader and replace Tom Brady, but it really hasn't happened.
Now, the running game has been good. We said 5th in the league in running. Last week, Sony Michel and the rest of the backs ran for over 100 yards against the Buffalo Bills in the first half. However, they were behind in the second half, and they could not overcome that. That turned out to be a big storyline. Speaking of storylines, we go to the New York Jets. There's always seems to be more questions than answers for the New York Jets. Is Adam Gase done, their head coach, after today? And is Sam Darnold done as their quarterback?
Well, and I think for Sam Darnold in particular, you know, it's been 3 years of struggle for him. He hasn't played as well as he wanted to, as well as the franchise wanted him to. But I still believe in Sam Darnold going forward. I think if he's in the right system, he can be an efficient quarterback. You're going to see a couple of throws here against the Browns last week, making the right reads, understanding where to go with the ball, and then delivering a perfect ball into the end zone for the long touchdown. Right here, has to read the linebacker. Do I go to the back, or am I check down, or do I go to the tight end? The linebacker steps up, throws the easy slant for the touchdown to his tight end. Those are the kind of plays that he's been making the last couple weeks and not turning the ball over. That's been the key for him, protecting the ball, not turning it over, and being efficient in the passing game.
All right, also the key the last couple of weeks has been the defense. They have been solid. So Greg Williams is let go after the Raiders game, but since that time, they've been a better defense.
And Frank Bush told me going into the Seattle game, his first game, we were going to simplify things. Less is more. You can see really the last 2 weeks weeks. Only 18 points given up against two teams that are going to probably be playoff teams. They've played really good football in the last two games on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, Jay, I know you love this segment. It's time to do Project Smarter, brought to you by Home Depot.
Well, if you're a quarterback and you want to be smart, go to your receivers that are making plays. And for the Jets, it's been Jamison Crowder. He's been excellent since he came over as a free agent. He understands how to get open. He catches the ball well, can beat man coverage, which is what he's going to have to do today. And then Jacoby Myers on the other side of the ball for the Patriots. A former quarterback, understands where to sit down in zone coverage, and Cam Newton needs to go to him. Here's my keys for the Jets. Channel Rex Ryan. Pound the rock. You got to run the ball. It's where New England has struggled defensively. And then channel Bill Belichick. Take away what they do best. Double Jacoby for Cam Newton. Let him do work, and then bring back the bug ghost on Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold will not be mic'd up here today, but we'll have the Jets and the Patriots in just a few from Foxborough. The Patriots have not lost to the Jets since 2015. Can the streak continue today? We'll find out.
Welcome to Los Angeles. In essence, a play-in game for the postseason. The Cardinals and the Rams about to meet. It's as simple as this. Arizona has to win to make the playoffs. The Rams qualify with a victory or a Bears loss in this window against the Green Bay Packers. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz along with Boomer Esiason and Tracy Wolfson. Our colleague Tony Romo is following COVID-19 protocols. We hope to see him next week. But Boomer, hats off to you. Pinch hitting at the last moment, flying across the country. You've been here about 12 hours, and I can tell you're totally prepared for the big game.
Kind of feel like I'm at a hockey game, Jim. How you doing over there?
Good to see you, pal.
Hey, you know what? It's unfortunate circumstances for sure, but just consider me the Ryan Fitzpatrick of CBS Sports. I'll show up wherever you need me.
All right, a little Esiason magic perhaps here today, and I know this. The Rams are going to need some magic out of John Wolford, who's never taken an official NFL snap with Jared Goff out with a broken thumb.
Jim, this is a big ask for the Rams, and Sean McVay told us yesterday that he is comfortable with the entire playbook. Expect a lot more running plays to be called because this kid is pretty athletic compared to Jared Goff.
And what do you expect from Kyler Murray as he tries to take the Cardinals into the postseason?
If the NFL is a quarterback-driven league, we're going to find out today. This is the #1 draft pick overall in 2019. Today, he goes against the #1 defense in the NFL in the Rams.
Okay, we're all set up. Right before kickoff, let's send it over to Tracy.
Well, Jim, between injuries and COVID, several key skill players out for this one. We know for the Rams, Jared Goff out with a broken thumb. They do expect him back next week if they win. No Darrell Henderson on the IR with the ankle, and Cooper Kupp, he was placed on the COVID list earlier this week. As for the Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald, this could have been his final game, but he will be out because of a groin injury, and their other wide receiver, Christian Kirk, placed on the COVID list as well. So it is next man up mentality in this crucial win and end game, Jim.
Yes, it is. And, man, that's just been the story of Week 17, isn't it? Adjust. You have to have some great agility to be able to compete and fight your way through this most bizarre of seasons. And now the Rams have deferred and will kick to the Cardinals.
It's a mild winter's day in Denver for a rivalry dating back to 1960 with the Broncos and the Raiders for the 121st time. And we welcome you to Denver. Beth Mowins along with Tiki Barber and a couple of teams today, Tiki, living very much for today because in the past, bitter defeats a week ago. And in the future, well, the NFL playoffs are moving on without these two clubs. particularly troubling for Raider Nation because it was just a couple weeks ago they were right in the thick of things.
Yeah, there's a lot of Raider fans, Beth, that believe it. They're 3 plays away from being in this playoff conversation with 10-5 record, but it's been mostly the defense. You can see over the last 6 games, 34.3 points they've given up. Offensively, they've done their parts, but really, they've had so much success offensively, it's hard to overlook it. Derek Carr has had a career year, mostly because of his tight end. Darren Waller, 98 receptions for over 1,000 yards, which are both second in the league. And without him, if they keep playing like this, they're going to be special.
On the other side for Denver, the year literally got off on the wrong foot. The season-ending injury to Pro Bowler and All-Pro Von Miller with the ankle injury. Then the 0-3 start. When they finally did get back on track, they were derailed by COVID and the quarterback concerns against New Orleans. And then a couple of weeks ago, eliminated by Buffalo. So today, all eyes on Drew Lock. Can he put up a performance worthy of being the starter next year?
Well, Drew Lock has been a really likable guy on this team, and John Elway has said that they're running it back with Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur as offensive coordinator and Drew Lock. But it feels like every time he goes out, Beth, it is an audition for next year. There are so many guys available in the draft and maybe even in free agency. Drew's got to play better than the interceptions and turnovers that he's had all year long.
A win for John Gruden means 3 years in a row with a better record for Coach Gruden. Now in his 3rd season, his 2nd stint as the Raiders head coach. And Vic Fangio and the Broncos, they beat Las Vegas in Week 17 last year. They will try and match that today without the services of Bradley Chubb. Their Pro Bowler, a late scratch with an ankle injury. Devontae Booker is the deep man to receive